Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 58 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth game discussion podcast. I am your host, as always, Brad Ellis. And joining me, we got our Cobra Commander, our Dr. Wiley, our company. Not Dr. Light.
No, I want to be Dr. Wiley. Dr. Wiley's cool.
Dr. Wiley's cooler. Colin Moriarty. Colin, my friend, how are you?
Good. I'm very good. Who is this?
That's Quickman?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay. I don't know where I even got this Quickman toy. It's so cool. I think it's Japanese. It's probably from like a...
He looks a little too tall.
Yeah, the scale's too big.
Yeah, they need
he's
to be
tiny
like short.
compared to the new... This is the scale of the new toys.
Yeah, that seems more right. Yeah. Yeah, Mega Man 1 through 4, I'm getting down all the Robot Masters.
Very good. Toadman.
Toadman, I like Toadman, actually.
Yeah, Toadman's cool. He does the little dance.
Yeah.
The little rain dance.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into more of that, though, if you're not listeners. I know all of you are craving Mega Man discussion from me and Colin.
I could do a weekly show on Mega Man, probably, just on those games.
Yes, that's right. But we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. But before we get into the show, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia. If you'd like to support us over there, you get early access to this show, all of our other shows, Sacred Symbols, Defining Duke, Punching Up, all that good stuff. Leave us a nice rating for all of our shows if you enjoy them on your podcast services. We want to climb the charts. We're doing very well, though, especially for we do our shows usually once a week compared to others, which is awesome.
Yeah, I look at the rankings every so often, and yeah, it's the shows that are at the top are shows that publish like sometimes every day. Mm-hmm. So that we're like Sacred Symbols, for instance, being in the top 10, we only publish once a week. So it's a great compliment. And I'm looking now, I gotta get there on iTunes, but we had all of our shows in the top 50, which was pretty cool.
Damn.
At some point last week. So
wow. Thank you, everybody. Let's keep it growing.
Yeah.
Let's take over.
Please.
Also, if you want some merch, go to laststandmedia.store. You can get some nice merch. We got some stickers. Micah sent me some recently. I got the Punching Up logo from Micah.
Nice.
Got that right there. And of course, the best sticker we have, in my opinion, the Smug Maddie Xbox.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
I'm gonna probably put this on my Xbox because
that wasn't a big seller, it turns out, but
really, damn.
Stickers are so comically cheap. The margins are really high, but it's almost irrelevant because it's like you're buying the sticker for 50 cents, you're selling it for $1.50 or whatever. But it's just we have a whole free shipping thing too with our stickers, so just so we can drop them in the mail. I stole that from a Predator Hunter guy that I watch on YouTube. What was that guy's name, Micah? Yeah, his name was Anxiety War, which is a great show. But he doesn't really do it anymore. Yeah, and he had the whole thing where he would send stickers for like free shipping. I was like, that's a good idea.
Wait, his like stickers just said Anxiety War on them or something?
Well, he had like all sorts, like Catch Your Local Predator is one of them, and it's like a camera, and he has all sorts of things. So on his videos, he always shows himself like going to when he's like on his way to like going to catch a predator. He'll often videotape himself going to the post office first to drop off things.
Send off some merch.
Yeah.
Man,
and then he'll like go meet up with the predator.
Yeah. The places you get your ideas from are hilarious to me. That, maybe some Chris Chan videos. Chris Chan,
a lot of sports content is influential to me.
Oh, yeah. Because you're a big sport. Yeah. How many sports podcasts do you listen to?
A lot, but I usually just listen to clips on YouTube. So I listen to like Pro Football Talk and Rich Eisen and a few hockey things and stuff like that. But I usually just listen to clips. I listen to full episodes of, I really like, I didn't listen to very many full football podcasts this year because I was so depressed over the Jets and I just didn't feel like listening to it.
Yeah.
Even though I'd watch all the games and stuff, but this is in a Heed the Call household, which is a great podcast as well. Also on Patreon.
I haven't heard Micah talk about that. I talk to her a lot and she only talks to me about Game Grumps.
Oh yeah. She loves Game Grumps, but she listens to Heed the Call way more than I do. I mean, she loves Heed the Call. Yeah. Damn.
She never brought it up. Interesting. Colin, what's been going on, man? What are you up to? What's going on in the household?
Nothing really. It's nice out today. It's like, it says 67. So I went and walked the dogs today. And I was up I'm always up late, but I was up pretty late until like 5 last night. Just playing games. And then I was just kind of watching a history podcast as I was going to bed about the Reformation. Very exciting. And yeah, nothing else. I actually just talked to my mortgage company. I mean, this is the frustrating thing, is that I've been really obsessed with paying my mortgage off. So I did that last year. And then I got like an email from them, and it's like, you owe us 24 cents and we're charging you $40 late fee. And then I was like, I called them up. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I just paid the mortgage off. And they're like, oh, you still owe us like escrow. And I'm like, but it doesn't say that anywhere. And Mike and I were just talking about how they don't want you to pay it off early. So they make it as difficult as possible for you to like get out of there. So they said they have to send me an email, they said, and then I have to like fill out this fucking letter or something to like shut the account down. And I'm like, come on, man, I just paid you, you know?
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. It's so frustrating, man. That kind of stuff.
It's just crazy.
Congratulations, paying off your mortgage. That's a huge thing, dude. That's gonna be a lot of relief.
Thanks. It's not as, I mean, it's awesome. It's not as huge as it sounds, because I put down half of the cost of the house when I bought it. Mm-hmm. And so the mortgage wasn't like enormous, but I did take a 30-year mortgage out and paid it off in 5. So just because I bought my house in May of 2000, rates were no lower. They would never go lower than they were at that time. 2000? I'm sorry, of 2020.
Oh, okay. I was like, of
2020. Sorry, yeah. Of 2020. So the rates were like comically low. So I was like, there's no reason to, because I was thinking about just buying the house, but that would have been basically everything I had. Yeah. And I was like, well, maybe the mortgage is basically free. So yeah, I mean, it was always a dream, just because I'm always paranoid of losing like not my job, but like the business can go away or whatever. Sure. And it's like, well, at least I have a place to live.
Yeah. True, man. That's a good thing to invest in your home. Yeah. Better than a car or something like a fancy car, I guess. Yeah.
We bought a car. We bought a new car last year. Like we just bought it in cash or whatever, but we're pretty, we bought a Subaru, and we traded in her old car and stuff like that. We're very utilitarian. I don't really, my dad was here for this last weekend, and I went out to brunch with him, and he drove me he drives like a really nice Mercedes, like a pretty expensive higher end Mercedes. And I never drive in cars like that ever. Yeah. So like when you're in it, you feel it. It's smooth. It's quiet. It's really, and I'm not saying our cars are bad. They're not. It's just like you get what you pay for. And like, we're just very utilitarian people. We just want a place to live, like in a middle-class neighborhood. That's where we're at. We just want a car to get us places. That's what we have. I don't really want nice things, to be perfectly honest.
I feel like I'm fine with a Honda for the rest of my life, pretty much. I'm like never like, I don't have a dream car or anything like that. I know some people do, and that's totally fine, but that's just not what I really value so much. I mean, I don't want a piece of shit or anything, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, just something that's safe and works and good gas mileage and all that. Yeah, I'm not, in my neighborhood, many people have Teslas and BMWs and Mercedes and all this, and I'm like, it's cool. But man, that's just such a waste of money, in my opinion. But I appreciate it. Like my mom always coveted getting a Corvette. She always wanted a Corvette. And then her husband bought her one. That's nice. Like a used one a few years ago from the 80s. It was like not a beater, but it wasn't in great shape, and they worked on it, and they were like in this club and they fix it. And then my mom bought another Corvette. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like you waited 70 something years for this Corvette, and now you have to have 2 of them. So I'm like, okay, cool. And it's like fire red, and it's like my mom pulls up in it and she's 75.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Your little tiny mom. That's so funny. But that's great. How are the pups?
Pups are good. Crazy. Yeah. They're so lazy. That's what bothers me about them. Just because Bostons are, I mean, they're crazy and they're active inside, but like they don't really want to walk. Okay. And my old Boston that I had with an ex of mine, she would go anywhere and do anything at all times. And so when I got these Bostons, I was like, oh, I kind of assume they're going to want to be outside, and they're just kind of down to hang, you know, which is a little disappointing, because on days like this, it's like, come on, guys, it's nice. Yeah. And like, I want to go home and sleep. I'm like, I get it. But they're doing well. We were just kind of lamenting. I mean, Rush turns 5 soon and Treble turns 4 right after that. So they're getting not up there in age, I don't want to say, but I'm very focused on the mortality of my dogs for some reason. Sure. I don't like, because I've never had my own dogs, like my dogs before. And just knowing, I mean, unless something horrible happens to me, which is possible, that you're going to outlive them is kind of sad. Of course. You know? Yeah. And they're so sweet and they're so cute and they don't know any better. And so I just hope that they're having a good life, and we want to give them a good, long life.
They are, for sure. I'm sure they have. It's funny because Micah told me she sits in the dog bed sometimes when she's playing 3DS because the charger's too far away like that. It's so awesome. Getting relegated to the dog bed.
Yeah, we have these different dog beds strewn around, and Micah takes good care, like really good care of them.
Yeah.
She brushes their teeth and like brings them for all their blood work and gets all their meds and their heartworm medicines and all that. So we're doing the best we can for them.
Yeah. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're having a good life.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, they're the only things I see other than my wife most days. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Life.
How's everything in your life? How's life?
Good, man. I can't complain too much. I thought I was getting a cold, or I kind of had like an extremely minor cold for like 4 days, but I feel good now. But like I got sick over like Christmas break and I was really sick, but this one I could still function and do everything. Just kind of felt a little off, but I got some vitamin C right here.
Oh,
being careful. Just getting my vitamins. I need to take more
Sunny
vitamins
D.
in general. Yeah. Yeah, Sunny D. That's right.
Ugh, I hate Sunny D.
Really? You're like the first kid I've ever met that didn't like Sunny D. Wow.
I always coveted it because they had the cool commercials.
Yeah, they did.
Right. But then I had it and I'm like, I would rather just have orange juice. Not this.
That's fair.
Not this. Whatever this. Do you remember the drink Five Alive? Did you ever have that?
That sounds really familiar. I got to look this up, dude.
It came in a carton.
Five Alive.
Like a blue carton.
That sounds familiar, but I don't really remember ever having it.
Yeah, like I loved that when I was a kid as well. But yeah, I wasn't really into that's what that color reminded me of though, or like Tang or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I remember Tang. Yeah, with the monkey, they always had like that. Tang, dude. I liked Sunny D, but it had a debuff where it would just make you thirsty. I felt like. Oh. It was like the opposite of water. It did not quench your thirst whatsoever.
You know what? Cool. I also didn't like that had cool commercials and everyone was into it, but I didn't like the Capri Sun.
Really? You didn't like Capri Suns either? Damn.
No. And it's not that I had an aversion to all of those things. Like I liked, you're old enough to remember like, well, they still made it, but at the time it was really big was like the Ecto cooler green juice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really liked that a lot.
Okay.
That was really good.
Okay. Yeah, you remember like High C, how big that was back then?
High C, yeah, that's what it was. I think that's what it was. High C. Yeah, that shit was. I don't even know if they'd make that anymore. They
had like the Slimer one from Ghostbusters.
Right, that's the one I was talking about. It was the green one was like it was like Ghostbusters 2 themed, I think.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if they do kid commercials like that still. Like, do you think cereal commercials do they have like mascots and stuff still? I wonder.
They must. Yeah, they must. I mean, I don't watch Disney. I never really had Disney Channel as a kid, so I wasn't really into it, but I watched a lot of Nickelodeon and stuff. And I assume that they were, the commercials are probably the same. The Trix Rabbit, the Captain from Captain Crunch, whatever toys are cool. Watching the commercials of old footage is way more fun than watching the old footage sometimes, like watching the old shows, like watching the interstitial stuff. Mike and I have gone through waves where we watch Price is Right from the 70s or 80s on YouTube, and then we watch all the commercials too. And that's like the best part.
Dude, retro commercials are so good, man. They're so good.
Because
it's such a fun time capsule.
Do you I've talked about this before. How old are you again?
37. I'll be 38 this year.
Okay, so 38 this year. Okay, so good. I feel like there was always the occasional humorous or quirky commercial, but at some point, and I want to say it happened in like the late 90s, maybe mid to late 90s, commercials became funny by a rule.
Yeah, every commercial. Yeah,
right. And what's funny about watching those old things is it's like really talking up the product and showing how good it is, and the steam coming off the fresh bread and it's dead ass serious. It's like, buy your fucking Wonder Bread, dude.
Yeah.
And now it's like some joke and some silliness. It's changed. Yeah, so it's kind of cool to go back and watch that old stuff.
Yeah. What's something, Colin, that you nostalgic for that I guess is pretty silly? I got an example for you just to.
Yeah, well, hit me.
I think about like old, like fast food building designs. Sure. The old Wendy's,
right?
The old Taco Bells, the
Taco
Burger Kings.
Yeah,
how they all looked.
Like the Taco Bells with like the Taco Bells with like the purple,
yes,
and the like forest or like hunter green,
yes.
The McDonald's were ridiculous with like the planters and
yes, dude, yeah.
I remember. Yeah, that is a fun thing to think back on. I wonder why they stopped doing those kinds of things. I don't really know. Maybe because it wasn't really worth it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't seem like people eat at these places anymore.
Everyone just take it away, or they sit in their car.
Right.
I wonder why a lot of people sit in their car, I guess. Maybe just because they can listen to whatever they want. I always see people eating in their car. No shame. I'm just curious.
I used to love eating at McDonald's or at something. And then at some point, when I was a kid, I did. And everyone seemed to. And then at some point, I was like, no, we don't do this. We just take it to go. And then McDonald's is crowded outside, but just totally empty inside. The only fast food place I see where people really eat at still is In-N-Out.
Yeah. In-N-Out is very popular still.
Because it doesn't constitute if you take it. You have to eat it there. I've
always noticed something around here is that In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A are often very close to each other, if not right next to each other. I know like 3 In-N-Outs and Chick-fil-A's like that. I don't know.
Well, they're both Christian. They're both deeply...
Yeah. Maybe like the Christian Alliance, Fast Food Alliance. Colin's checking his watch. Something's blowing up.
Sorry, I just got something from my accountant.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just going to look at old fast food.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. It's totally fine. Yeah, it's just like we messed up someone's 1099, so I'm just trying to get that fixed.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. But yeah. Can you think of anything nostalgic for?
Yeah, nostalgic for
something silly. I don't know. It could be like commercial building, like an old store or something that doesn't exist, like Toys R Us. I think.
Oh yeah, I am nostalgic for like the branch of like the weird. I don't know if you remember some of these stores, but you wouldn't have had some of them out west. But like, did you have Service Merchandise?
No.
Or Bradley's, Ames?
That sounds familiar. More so.
I guess I watch a lot of dead mall and dying mall content on YouTube, which is really interesting. And like,
depressing.
Yeah, it is super depressing, especially because when you go to a mall, like are the mall around, I just have this perception of malls just all being dead because of these things that I watch. And it's like, no, and then the mall near our house is like booming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought malls were dead.
No.
So yeah, I maybe like a good answer would be like the mid-tier department store that's just kind of disappeared off the face of the planet. I used to buy toys.
Seriously?
Like G.I. Joes and Star Wars stuff at these places when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, we had a place called like Fedco kind of by me. That was like a Sam's Club or something like that. That's where I got like a lot of my NES games and stuff and Christmas trees. But man, super nostalgic for that stuff. Rest in peace, Circuit City. You were kind of expensive, though. I felt like Good Guys. Did you guys have Good Guys?
We didn't. That was a California. Yeah, California. I know that was a thing, right?
Okay.
So I remember hearing about that or maybe even seeing it when I lived out there, but I don't. Or is that that's Good Guys. Is that an electronic store?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. That's I don't know if I've ever been to one. Because out west too, there's like Fry's and all these things we didn't have out east.
Yeah, Fry's always had weird theming in them. The one by me had like Greek or Roman theming inside, like statues and everything. Very strange for an electronics store. Yeah,
that's right. They all had a different thing, right? Like UFOs and like Jurassic kind of thing. Like, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is cool. But alas, the one by me is gone. Rest in peace, Fries. All right. We got a couple write-ins before we start talking about some topics real quick. This is from Drew D. What's up, guys? Hope you all are well. I have a 1-sentence summary for each of the Last Day Media shows I want to run by you to see if I got them correctly. Please let me know your thoughts. Defining Duke. I love you, bro. I got to keep myself healthy because Xbox sure isn't. Sacred Symbols. There are too many games to play. I think I'm going to kill myself. Punching Up. I love that Gene works at the Washington Post. I think I'll eat a copy. Okay. Summon Sign. LSM shit talker / therapy session. Constellation. Has anyone seen Dagon, the only normal one at the company? Hope you enjoy my lighthearted jest and have a great day. Best, Drew. What do you think, Colin? Someone who oversees all the shows to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, these are good. I do take umbrage with the Dagon being the normal one. I mean, Dagon is profoundly not normal.
Yeah, he's not normal, guys. He's awesome, but not normal.
None of us are really normal.
No.
Yeah, I think the Summon Sign LSM shit talker therapy session, I mean, that sounds more like Constellation to me in some sense, but
sure, yeah.
But Summon Sign could be that too.
Sure, yeah.
The Punching Up, I don't really get the reference, to be honest.
I honestly don't really get it either.
And then Defining Duke, yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, these are good. These are good.
Okay.
I don't know if they do them justice. I'm sorry?
Tighten them up a little, Drew.
Yeah.
But you're on the right track. For a first draft, not too bad. I'm seeing your vision right here. All right, Colin, this I'm really curious about. Switch 2 was announced a little while ago, officially, and all that kind of stuff. Of course, you are an expert in PlayStation, but you are a longtime lapsed Nintendo fan. Used to be a self-described Nintendo fanboy.
Oh, I was
earlier
definitely a Nintendo fanboy.
Yes.
I don't consider myself a PlayStation fanboy at all compared to the way I was about Nintendo. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the 90s, dude. Stuff was wild back then. Well, it's still wild now in a sadder way, I think. It was more fun back then. But what are your thoughts on Switch 2 so far? What you saw? Are you interested in getting one? I know Maiko's going to get one eventually.
Yeah,
but what
of course,
about
she'll
for
get one.
you? What did you see? What do they need to do to sell you?
Nothing. There's nothing they can do at this point. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not even being facetious. I think that it goes into what Phil Spencer had said a long time ago about the Xbox One era and people kind of just gravitating towards what they gravitate towards with the ecosystem, the games you buy, your friends list, your trophies or achievements, your saves, whatever the case might be. I'm kind of just, based on the way I play games, I kind of am just where I am. And I said this on Sacred a week or two ago, and I think it's important to kind of reiterate it, is there's this idea, I think, in hardcore gaming circles that that everyone, like, it's like, oh, if you're a gamer, you have multiple consoles. And I'm like, no. People that listen to shows like this have multiple consoles, but most people make a choice and are actually just bound to where they are. And so I think the next iteration of those things is going to be most naturally attractive to those particular people, as opposed to the waning console enthusiasts that will buy all things. And I actually fit more into the first category. So there really is nothing they can do to get me back. I'm just kind of out. But as far as the device itself is concerned, it's not a surprise. I think Nintendo played a really interesting role in changing the paradigm again in terms of what players want. They always seem to be where the industry ultimately ends up in some sense. And so whether you obviously think about the return of console gaming with the NES, but then the Game Boy kind of being the tip of the spear of a handheld movement. You have peripheral play in the 90s with multi-tap and the mouse and all these weird things on SNES that kind of end up being more bigger in games like 20 years later when you think about Rock Band or something like that, like the light gun and all these kinds of things. Super Scope 6. They were kind of ahead of the curve on those kinds of things. Wii, I think, was really ahead of the curve in some sense in more casual gaming. I mean, they really captured that market, but they were also too early to the market where everyone was playing games. They saw it, right? I guess is what I'm saying. And so with Switch, I think they saw a path forward as a hybrid machine, which we often prognosticated they would do anyway for years before they did it. And so I think they're naturally evolving into the next step of that, which is just a slightly more powerful version, NES to SNES, I guess you would say. Now, the one, and I think that is probably the most linear, this is the most linear continuity between Nintendo hardware in the home space since the NES and SNES, I think. Because when you jump to N64 to GameCube to Wii, I mean, these are all radically different machines. So I think that's going to be a little bit different for people. I also I don't think Nintendo's cursed. I just think the market vacillates such that they rarely do really great twice in a row. And I wonder if this will, like, the strongest, it was NES to SNES was down. I don't think people realize that they were down like 15 million units, I think. And the Genesis really ate into their market share, and they went even further down with the N64, and then really further down with the GameCube, and then they bounced back up with the Wii, down Wii U, up Switch. I feel like it's going to be down for this again, but I don't think it's going to be that profound. I think it'll be like NES to SNES, where it's not really going to matter, and both machines are going to do well. So I'm excited for them, and I'm excited for fans of Nintendo. I don't think the machine is going to be very powerful. It doesn't seem like it's going to be. They're kind of just in their own ecosystem, and counting Nintendo out is kind of foolish. But I also think that they've kind of emboldened their competitors to go at them. As I've said many times, they kind of manufactured a sort of consent amongst other platform holders to make a handheld, and then the Steam Deck kind of gave that consent for power. And now Nintendo's going to have to deal with a resurgent handheld, probably from PlayStation and Xbox. And who knows if it's going to work.
Right.
But, so yeah, I'm excited for them. I just want to see what they're going to do and what they're going to say and what games will be on it. I can say that we have no access to a Switch 2 at Lilymo. So we'd like to bring our games to it at some point, but I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. And I think it's going to do really well, but I don't know that it's reasonable to expect that it's going to sell 120 or 130 million units, wherever they're going to end up with Switch.
Yeah, I do wonder about that because the PS5 is selling more than the PS4, especially in like a weird circumstance, like with how the PS5 kind of struggled at the beginning, just because you couldn't buy one.
Right.
I wonder if I don't know if it's just console / handhelds are just so popular and it'll do fine regardless. But like you said, they don't have a history of 2 home runs in a row necessarily.
It's
They do
hard.
fine. Yeah,
It's
it's
hard to do.
It's very hard. But I
I
wonder,
mean, even
like,
with PS4 to PS5, like PS5 is going to, I think, ultimately fall short of the PS4.
Okay.
Just because I just think things are changing so quickly that, like, I feel like PS4 will still be manufactured and sold while PS6 is on the market.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna if you're gonna start gravitating towards the lower end the base machine or whatever, they're gonna have a similar problem with Switch. The one thing I was so interested with the new Switch was people being like, I wonder if it's gonna be backwards compatible. I'm like, dude, I would bet the farm that's gonna be backwards compatible. Are you crazy? Like, they wouldn't. I know it's Nintendo and they don't often do that, but they are accommodating. It reminds me of the DS having a GBA / Game Boy port and all the rest, and how Game Boy Advance took Game Boy cartridges and stuff. Like, it's not totally crazy, and I just feel like there's literally no way they're going to make that thing would. If the Switch 2 wasn't backwards compatible, I think they'd be actually in some trouble with it.
Yeah, I think so as well.
So I think they realized what they had to do, and they're a game company. And there's just no. They're the only of the ones of the competitors that are a game company first, and so it's obviously exciting to see what they can do. But I think that they're perhaps overly reliant on themselves, and as games become more and more complex and expensive to make even for them, and you can see how long it's taking to make some of these games for them. Metroid Prime is a good example. We haven't had a Mario 3D game in 8 years.
Yeah, it's true.
And now I know they're holding some of these things obviously for the new machine, but that's a long time. And so I wonder if they'll be able to continue to rely on themselves. That's why I thought that was a really, I don't remember the company's name, but they bought one of the port studios that was doing really good Switch ports and brought them in-house. And that's smart, because it's like, you're going to need to do this. You're going to have to go chase some third-party stuff and kind of make it happen on your machine. And obviously they're going to get Call of Duty on there. I'll be interested to see how that goes, and we'll see what happens. But I'm rooting for them. I love Nintendo. I just it's just not for me anymore. I have no beef with Nintendo at all.
What do you think of the name? Pretty interesting. They've never had like a 2 in any of their system name wise.
Yeah,
they always had like Game Boy
Advance,
stuff like that.
I think they're gun shy. First of all, I think everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people want it to be Super Switch, and I think that's would be cool. I think it's probably not a great idea to name it Super Switch, though. I think they're gun shy about, and rightfully so, about the marketing debacle behind Wii U, and I think they realize, like, we need to have a true differentiation, and like there's no greater differentiation between the machines than literally stamping a number at the end of it. We know from our competitor in PlayStation that this works, so why not? And so it makes sense. It's the logo, I think, kind of sucks, but then again, I thought that the Switch name kind of sucked too, and it kind of just became the name, and then it grew on me, and not grew on me, but it is what it is. So what do I know? It is
what it is. Yeah. Let's see here. We got a couple write-ins about this. The Uncharted Wolf wrote in, "What's up, boys? Colin mentioned being interested in playing Metroid Prime 4 when it comes out. Is there anything in particular you're hoping from its story or gameplay-wise? Would either of you play this game with the rumored Joy-Con mouse if it supports that feature? Thanks for all you do."
Yeah, I love Metroid Prime, actually. Metroid Prime 3 was one of the last Wii games I played. That came out in 2007, I want to say, like fall 2007 or something like that. So it's been a long time. It's been almost 20 years, actually, which is kind of crazy between Metroid Prime games, which is, I don't even know what that's all about. Like, what Retro's been fucking doing other than Donkey Kong and some other shit. But
the last game was Tropical Freeze, which was like 2014.
It's a crazy waste of time, to be honest. But but nonetheless, I'm rooting for them. Yeah, Mike is definitely gonna get the new Switch for launch. I'll keep an eye on Metroid Prime. I don't know that I'm like that. It's the one game that's there where I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, because I really did like those games. I actually think that I'm not crazy about Super Metroid. I love the original Metroid. It's like a very creepy, weird, this kind of static game that doesn't tell you anything, but there's a way to do it and like a way to get through it. And you kind of just have to figure it out. And it's very archaic. And I kind of like that about it. And obviously Metroid 2 is like a classic early Game Boy game. But I'm not like attached to the franchise at all the way a lot of people are. And frankly, no one really is. As I've said before, Metroid doesn't sell very well. I'll be very interested to see how this game sells, because I'm pretty sure like every Metroid game ever released has sold like 10 million units or something. So,
not a lot.
So it's really not that big. But yeah, I don't even remember what happened. And what was the third one? The corruption? Was that what it was called?
Corruption. Yeah.
I don't even remember the story at all. But I do like the gameplay and the first person stuff. And what I was saying was that I think Metroid actually works best in first person for me. It just makes some level of sense. And I think that series is always, the Prime series has always brought a sort of like a texture to PlayStation or to a Nintendo's first party, wherein they've kind of had some people contend it's not a first person shooter, but I think it is a first person shooter. Some people are like, it's more of like an action adventure game in like first person puzzle solving and all that. And I'm like, nah, it's a first person shooter. And I think it reminds me of when, do you remember the games, The Conduit and the Conduit 2 came out?
Yes, I do.
Those were really notable for me on the Wii. They came out pretty late on the Wii, especially the second one, but just because it's like, oh, like a shooter made for the Wii. It's interesting. Right. As opposed to something ported to it or something that's kind of janky. I wonder if they'll ever release those games elsewhere, the Conduit games. I don't remember who made those. High Voltage, maybe, something like that. Probably but not. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, reminds me of Red Steel.
Oh, Red Steel, yeah, Ubisoft.
Yeah, Red Steel, man. What a time. All right, this is from Adamantium Priest. What's up, motherfuckers? Question for Colin. If Switch 2 does have some sort of trophy/achievement system, would that bring you back into the ecosystem? Let's be honest, if Nintendo were to implement such a system into the Switch 2, it could potentially sway people away from PlayStation and Xbox. Easy money. Have a great day.
Yeah, I do wonder what they're going to do with that, actually. But no, that wouldn't bring me back at this point either. It's just too late. Again,
yeah,
I've just been kind of installed into this one place for so long, and that's where I want to be. So no, they could have. I think the Switch might have been able to capture me in some sense if they did it. But because I bought a Switch when it launched, I had it, and I ended up giving it away because I was like, I don't really want this. But yeah, I do. I think their stubbornness on this account is weird, and I don't know why they didn't do it with the Switch. I don't know why they didn't do it with the 3DS. I thought that was the first machine, and then the Wii U, I guess, would have been like those machines were the first ones where I was like, maybe they'll do it, and then they didn't. It's like, okay, well, when the Switch was announced, like, it's got to be now. I mean, you gotta,
right? And
they did. They made a robust account system for the first time where you didn't have to just buy random shit and tether it to your machines. It was so fucking bad on DSi and on Wii and all that.
It was so bad.
It was ridiculous, and it was totally ridiculous that you had to do that kind of stuff. Like I have my Wii in a closet just because it's like, well, I have $500 worth of fucking virtual console games on this, I think, and if they go away, I'm never going to be able to play them again. But what's the thought on this from Nintendo people? Are they going to do it or not? I mean, they're so stubborn and annoying.
Well, it's like
shit.
So on Punching Up, I'm the only one that wants achievements and stuff like on Switch 2. Micah and Gene don't want it on there because they're like, in truth, how I play the game. I don't want to think about that. So I feel like a lot of Nintendo fans don't want it because Nintendo doesn't want it. But I feel like if Nintendo does it and does it in their own way, then they'll be like, oh yeah, this is great. This is awesome. So that's my theory on it.
Yeah, call it like coins or something, whatever you would do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
An idea I had was Punching Up people would heard this, but like how PlayStation has trophies and stuff like that, you need to go in that route in the sense of having tiers or whatever for re-unlocked. So you could have like, instead of trophies, it could be stars or something like that. The Mario star. You get like the rainbow stars, like the platinum or something like that. Then the yellow star, the blue star, the green star, stuff like that. They do something like that. But of course, add some weird Nintendo twist to it. I feel like they would do something weird like that, like a me involved in or something dumb like that. But that would be my idea.
Nothing's leaked about it yet either. Like this must be known. So my assumption is that it's not happening because it would be in the SDK.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, sadly. Like I feel like someone would have leaked from the SDK stuff. Like, oh yeah, there's like an achievement system. I mean, because I feel like that would have been because the games that are going to launch with it are probably
Mario Kart.
But I'm saying like they're all probably nearly done, if not. I mean, the reason that they might have taken so long to even release the machine is to give the games more time. But in other words, what I'm saying is like they're not delivering some last minute update to the SDK, being like now we add an achievement list to it. It's like that's something you kind of need to know. So my assumption based on that, because so much is leaked, but that hasn't, and so I feel like it's
just the hardware, no like UI or anything like that.
Oh, I thought I saw a picture of the UI. Was that not there was like?
I haven't seen any credibility for that. Maybe there is, but I haven't heard anything else about it. So I'm not sure.
There's nothing remarkable about it. I mean, what I saw,
Yeah, I mean that could be that could be exactly because the Switch UI is extremely basic. So who knows
That's fine.
and all that kind
Who
of stuff.
cares? As long as it's functional and snappy,
Yeah.
I could give a shit, to be honest.
I like when Nintendo does like some weird thing, but it's not always necessary. Like I think the Miiverse was interesting on Wii U and all that kind of stuff. You could write messages and you get pictures and stuff like that in there, but it really doesn't matter. I feel like Nintendo likes to do stuff like that, or they did, but maybe they're just moving away from it. I don't know, but I guess we'll see in April when they talk more about it. It's gonna be exciting. Do you think we're gonna see more PlayStation stuff on it?
Yeah, I do.
What do you think?
I'm of the mind that, so if it's as powerful as like in between a PS4 and a PS5, then I think that like last gen stuff makes sense. But I want to, we don't know enough about what their intention is. Like if Lego Horizon was a test balloon, then it's failed.
Right.
I don't think anyone gave a fuck about it, but I also don't think it's the right product. Like how would God of War 2018 do on it? How would Zero Dawn or Uncharted 4 or the Uncharted trilogy? I feel like there is some fruit to be born here, and I think that they need to get better test balloons onto the market. I'm of the mind that they won't, at least in the short to midterm, release anything on Xbox, and that it makes no sense for them to release anything on Xbox because the player base there doesn't really buy games. It's a smaller player base. And they're the direct competitor, so just put you've won basically. Like, why help them?
Right, yeah.
Just let them. And I'm pretty sure that that's going to be the strategy there. Like, why bother? Yeah, we can make money there, sure, but why annoy our fans? Why throw them a rope? Why do any of those things? Nintendo is a different story, I think, because nothing PlayStation does and has ever really done since the 90s has truly affected, and maybe the early 2000s has truly affected Nintendo and their approach. And I think that they actually scared Nintendo in some sense away from a more power-centric look forward on games. NES was kind of a weak machine. SNES, not so much. N64 was a pretty technologically advanced machine. And I think they realized for the time, and I think they realized we don't really need to play this game. And they started making weird decisions from there, like the GameCube with the mini discs and not even making a DVD player because they didn't want to license the DVD technology and all that weird shit, which is so strange. So I think that since then they've been on these 25 years or so, they've been on these different roads, and no matter what one does, the other's not really super affected on the market by it. So they can benefit from each other. I just think Nintendo realizes that, and Nintendo's not going to put its first party content anywhere else. Like that just doesn't make any sense because they're so reliant on it. But I think in the other direction, it does make some sense. I'm curious what people think about that though, because the machine is simply not strong enough based on what we know to play modern PlayStation games, like from 2020 onward. So you have nothing to quote unquote worry about there. If you don't want to send a perception of like, oh, everything's going to come. It's like, how? It's going to play God of War Ragnarok? I don't think so. It's going to play fucking Returnal? I don't think so. Maybe at 20 frames a second at 720p or something like that.
God of War was on PS4, so maybe they could.
Right, God of War 1. That's what I was saying. Ragnarok.
No. Ragnarok.
Oh, 2. Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right. That's a bad example. Horizon would be a bad example too. But at some point the line cuts off, and if you're worried about, I feel like Sony's PC initiative has shown them with diminishing returns that they were probably selling a lot of games based on the novelty at first. Yeah. And that eventually things kind of fell back down to earth for them. And now you look at like Spider-Man 2, for instance, they'll probably sell a couple 100,000 or a few 100,000 copies or something. But what's obvious is that there's not only not that much demand for this stuff off platform, but that if there's not much demand for it, then it's not affecting the hardware trajectory. And if you marry those two themes together, then you realize that like putting your stuff somewhere else is just net positive if you feel like there's no Venn diagram crossover. And if the Venn diagram crossover between PC and PlayStation is that small, which I think it kind of is, I think people just play on PC or they just play on PlayStation. And again, enthusiasts play on both, a Dustin or a you or someone like that. Then Nintendo will also benefit from that. And Sony, that Venn diagram would just be two circles at that point. So if you look at it logically, it's like, yeah, who gives a shit? And I do think that Lego Horizon was just a test, but I just think it was a bad test. I imagine it probably sold, honestly, that game probably sold fewer than 10,000 copies on Switch. And we don't know anything about it at all.
Probably.
That might even be a lot compared to what it actually sold. So we'll see. But I think that the recent SideQuest video goes into how Sony needs to pursue money where money is on the table. And games as a service is one of those places. And I think off-platform porting to parallel companies is not necessarily that bad of an idea. And they did it. I mean, there were some early PlayStation games like Wipeout on Nintendo, but it's been a long time, obviously, since then. So
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, that's a big answer, but that's where I'm at with it.
I feel like if they could get Astrobot to work on Switch 2, it'd be interesting. I mean, it's possible, maybe, but
yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, they would have to down-res everything, and it would probably run at 30 frames, but which is stinky. But they could do it. But it's the back catalog stuff that I'm really interested in. Why not set some seeds there for the new Uncharted by courting people? Like, are you really making any money off of the Uncharted trilogy anymore? I just don't think so.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you should. Yeah.
And there are people that just will never play them because they're on PlayStation. Just like if I will never play these games on Nintendo, but if they came to PlayStation, I'd probably play them. Go where I am. But I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. I thought that would happen for a long time during the Wii U era, where I was like,
yeah,
this ain't going so well. Let's hypothesize about, imagine what Mario would look like on a PS4. But but then we were all shown exactly what was going to happen with the Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting times ahead for Nintendo. We shall see how things change, but I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I'm excited. All right, Colin, let's talk about your beloved Mega Man. So we've been wanting to do a Robot Master tier list since I started working at this company for a long time. We did one tier list, which is very fun. We did consoles. What did we do? We did consoles and we did Final Fantasy games, I believe.
Oh, right. Yeah, the same one. Right. Mm-hmm.
So then I'm starting to go through the Mega Man games a little slowly. I've gone through 1 through 3 all the way, and I'm like halfway through 4 right now.
Okay.
So I just want to talk to you about Mega Man. Let's reminisce, because Mega Man's your favorite franchise, isn't it, for gaming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have a
classic Mega Man.
Love for it. Yeah, classic Mega Man. So, but I'm going through it. But first, let's start with this question from Chef Boyer G right here. Hey, Brad and Colin. As a huge Mega Man fan like yourselves, I'm glad to hear you guys talk about my favorite video game franchise and watch Brad stream each game on Twitch. I have 2 questions regarding the franchise's game design and legacy. First, the series is known for its learn by failure design. Do you think this approach still works in modern gaming? Many classic titles received a reward/save state feature that renders this game design useless. Second, why do you think Mega Man has endured for so long despite Capcom's inconsistent support? Thanks for all the great content, guys. What do you think about that? This learn by failure design. You still think this holds up today?
I think it does, but I think that that's not even unique to Mega Man. That's unique to the NES.
Yeah,
in some sense.
That's
and
like
I think
a lot of NES games.
Right. And even SNES, just platformers generally, I think have a learn, because there's nowhere for you to go in a 2D space. It's not like playing a third person shooter where you're like behind cover, you're running backwards, you're trying to like run away to like regain health, and you're learning as you play, of course, but you might not be dying that much. You might not even be failing that much. But Mega Man games, and just, if you think about Ninja Gaiden, Castlevania, fucking DuckTales, and all this stuff, it's like all the kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mega Man's deeper because you get the enemy weapons and you can kind of go non-linearly, but it's not the only non-linear game. DuckTales is a non-linear game too. And Mario 3 is a generally non-linear. It's a linear, non-linear game, right? There are stages you don't even have to go to. There are different ways around things. It's kind of cool in that respect. So, but I like what he's saying here. And I do think save states and rewind have ruined this stuff, but it reminds me of that Doom tweet that gets from the Doom guys that gets circulated every once in a while, where it's like, you control the buttons you press, which I think is so funny when like someone was getting mad about something and it's like, you control the buttons you press. So it's, in some sense, interface with the game however you want. When I play Mega Man games, I don't use the save state or rewind feature, but I have used rewind features in other games for sure.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing the Castlevania trophies for the collection, I rewound some of that stuff in Castlevania games I'm less good at, because I'm not, I could sit here and do this. Yes, I'm not though. So this is but sometimes you want that pure experience. So I don't think it doesn't render it useless. It's that players need to choose the buttons they press. It's cool that there's options to get through these games a little easier. Mega Man 10 had an easy mode, as I recall. And I was talking recently, like Celeste had a mode. We were talking about it specifically because you can get all the trophies in Celeste by playing it on like baby mode, which really bothered me. And that's the thing where it's like, there should be some penalty for doing it. If you engage a save state, trophies are turned off. Or if you engage like a rewind, trophies are turned off. But otherwise, like, who cares, really? Just do what you want if that's the way you're going to get through the game. These games are really hard for a lot of people. It's funny. Mega Man's really easy for me, but it's because I know it. I've played these games over and over and over again. I can draw the fucking stages probably if you ask me to like draw them about like where you go in some of these things. It's like if you're coming into it, but I don't know many games like that, and so I'm going into those games that are more difficult, and I might want the option to make things easier as well. So I'm not so mad about it. I really think it's a product of the NES, SNES era, 2D era, and the idea that there's really nowhere for you to hide, there's nowhere for you to go, there's nothing for you to do. You have to go forward through the enemy. So yeah, good shit though.
Yeah. I just think about like back in the day on those games, it was just like you said, you move forward, there's nowhere to hide, and you overcome it or you don't, and that's your only option. There was no save states, no saves period, pretty much for a lot of those games. Have to enter a password, so it was trial by fire back then, I'll say, for a lot of those games. Ninja Gaiden, when I was playing Ninja Gaiden as a kid, holy fuck.
That's a hard game, dude.
It's
a really hard game.
Ever to get through that game.
It's a hard ass game.
I never beat the second one. I couldn't beat the second one.
Oh yeah, they get harder. I mean, those are hard games, and I don't think a lot of people beat them back in the day. To be honest, I mean, you had to be really good and really patient. There was just no way to spoof this stuff, especially in Ninja Gaiden. When you would die on the last boss, it would kick you out to like 2/3 of the way through the game, and you have to do it all again. It was really crazy. Dude.
I didn't beat it till I was like in junior high, I think, like way later in life.
That was apparently a bug. You know that they didn't mean it for that to happen.
No, I didn't know that.
And that's like a bug that it sends you back that far. Like we thought it was like, oh, you're such assholes, but it's like, oh, we didn't mean to do that.
That's so funny. But yeah, that's brutal, man.
Now the Mega Man design towards what Chef Boyardee is saying here is interesting, because I think that this becomes more refined. You're getting into the more refined games, in my opinion, now, where you really could do it in any order you want. Now, each Mega Man game can be beaten without special weapons at all, with the exception of like if you have to use Bubble Lead.
You have to use some
Wily, right?
Progress in Wily stages,
right? Like item 1 and all that kind of stuff. But you could beat Heatman stage without item 2. It's just that I've never done it. I mean, I would never do that without it. Blocks, which means that I've never beaten Heatman without beating Airman first. And so that locks you into a certain order, which I think they get away from later. The first one's even worse with that, where the magnet beam is really like a vitally important item to get in that game. And it makes some of the stages, like Iceman stage, really trivial. If you have it, and if you don't, it becomes much harder. Later on, they make it so that you really can jump into the order of bosses where you're most comfortable and then go from there, and you'll be pretty much okay. So the design, I think, becomes more refined. Mega Man 3 is the first example of like the truly refined Mega Man game, in my opinion, from a gameplay perspective. And 4, where you are now, is probably even more of that, because there are like optional items in the game, like the balloon, and the hook shot and shit like that people don't even know exist, that make the game trivially easy in some sense. So, but you have to know where to find them. Yeah,
I have the balloon right now. I haven't gotten the hook shot, but it's been interesting.
The balloon's in Pharaoh Man stage, I think. The hook shot, right? And the hook shot's, I don't remember where the hook shot is. Oh, maybe in Wave Man. No, wait, not Dive Man stage. Yeah.
I was like, what is that guy's name? I saw his picture. He had like a periscope on his head, like
he's super cool.
I was like,
super cool.
Guy? Yeah. Shout out Pharaoh Man, dude. Cool stage. I liked his theming a lot. And his power, it's like a spirit bomb from Dragon Ball. You can charge it up. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like Atomic Fire from Mega Man 2.
Ring Man, fuck that guy. He was hard as shit for me. He was a psychopath, throwing those rings like crazy. He was a tough robot master, man. Like, I was insane.
That's a place where some people jump into the order, because he does have he's not one of those chaotic robots. Like, he does do the same thing over and over again. You just have to know how to to dodge
He's
it.
just really fast.
Yeah. Like Pharaoh Man's impossible, in my opinion, to beat without an E-Tank or the Bright Man weapon, you know?
Yeah. I feel like they do the stop time thing a little too much in Mega Man. Someone gives you a stop time power.
Yeah, it's 2, 4, 5, and 6, I think all have it, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of like, all right, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mega Man 1, though.
Okay.
So Mega Man 1, I think it's pretty rough. And definitely the roughest out of all the Mega Man games. I think it's the worst one. What do you think?
Definitely.
Yeah. It's cool, the concept, and it's cool to see like where the vision comes from for all that kind of stuff. And I think some of the Robot Masters are cool. Like, their designs are really cool in Mega Man 1. I think they look awesome. Like, I love Guts Man and stuff like that. He looked so good. But I just feel like going through it, kind of a pain in the ass. Like so many blocks in that one. Like Iceman stage, dude. The boo.
That's why you need the
blocks.
magnet beam for that, you know?
It's cancer. But like if you don't know that,
right?
Like I was going through it. I haven't played through Mega Man 1 in so long. I like didn't know. I like forgot all about that stuff, dude. And I was going insane, just like I hate this shit. When I was going through 2, someone's like, "Oh yeah, you get the rush thing or whatever, or the zip
item
thing,
yeah,
item thing," and I was like, "Man, this is like impossible without this shit."
Yeah, I've obviously there's videos of people doing Heat Man stage without item 2.
Yeah, of course people can do
but
it.
It's not. I've never done like it was not even. It's like I'm not doing this. Even as a little kid, I'm like I'm not doing this.
Yeah. How do you? I think the thing that's annoying me about Mega Man games the most, going back to them, is the Wily stages and when you need to use items to progress. And it's like if you use your item and you die and you restart like at a checkpoint, you don't get your energy back.
Right, you have to like commit suicide.
Like, you could just you just have to game over essentially. I'm like, man, that fucking sucks. I hate that shit. I know it's NES design, so it's very old. But I guess that's one thing that really bothers me now. Like
the wall boss in Wily's stage in 2 is a great example.
That is when I rewinded the most of the entire game. I used rewind. I was like, this fucking sucks. I hate this. Like you barely have enough to do it if you know what you're doing. Someone in my chat's like, well, okay, don't break all the walls and stuff like that. Right. You got to be careful which one to use. And I was like, fuck, man. This would have drove me crazy as a kid. It probably did. I probably used a Nintendo Power or something like that for that at the time. But I was like, just little things like that really bother me about the old Mega Man games. Do you think that's fair? Or do you think it's kind of like just nitpicky?
No, that boss in 2 is interesting just because there's a technique to do. Like when I was a kid, as long as you're not speedrunning and you don't care about dying and stuff like that, is
right.
Just go in, blow the walls up, die, then farm, and then just go into the stage. The walls are gone. Because Crash Man destroyable, like Crash Bomb walls stay gone as long as you don't continue. So, meaning you don't lose all your lives. So like the walls stay gone and then that boss becomes trivially easy. You just need to like farm for a minute or like the power for the crash bombs. Yeah, it's a badly thought out boss probably. I like the idea of room bosses. I think that's really cool, but they could have done it better than that for sure. Mega Man 1, well, what was the order? I'm going to ask you for all these. Like what order did you beat the bosses in for these games?
I'm trying to remember. So for Mega Man 1, who did I start with? I might have started with Cutman.
That's one good place to start. Yeah, Bomb Man's the other good place. Bomb Man's the other good place to start.
Someone told me later on Bomb Man's like the best place to start.
That's where I start, but it's Bomb Man or Cutman are fine. If you go Bomb Man, Guts Man, Cutman, Elect Man, or you go Cutman, Elect Man, and so on.
But I didn't know the order of like the bosses when I was going through them. I was just kind of flipping through it. Later on, people were starting to tell me more of that kind of stuff, but it was interesting just to be like, oh, I wonder what power is going to work against this guy or stuff like that. Because
there's a logic to Mega Man 1 that exists.
It's like Cutman. It's Cutman to Elect Man. Is that what it is?
Right. So here's how I always envisioned it: is starting with Bomb Man, right? Okay. And then you beat him with the regular power. Bombs destroy the rocks. So Guts Man.
Yeah.
The rocks crumple the scissors. So you go to Cutman. The scissors cut the wire. So you go to Elect. The electricity melts the ice. So you go to Iceman, the ice douses the fire. That's the internal logic, I think, of it. And then the fire, if you started with like Iceman, then you went Iceman, Fireman, then Fireman would ignite the bomb. Bomb Man would. So that's the internal logic of it. I think there's no internal logic to most of the other ones, but there is logic to that.
Because 2, I always start with Bubble Man. I don't know why. I just like
Bubble Man. That's interesting.
It's not even like, because it's not the smart choice. You know, most people start with Metal Man.
Metal Man is definitely the one you want to start with. Yeah,
because the Metal Blade is so fucking good in that game. I don't know. I always just like going to Bubble Man. Maybe because that's that stage music I love or something like that.
Airman's another place to start, I would say. Yeah, we'll get to Mega Man 2. Let's stick with Mega Man 1 for now. So that was the order you went in. And so what did you think of the different stages and the different bosses? I mean, these are obviously the Inafune developed bosses. As people know, I've said it a million times. The bosses are developed, but the bosses come from the audience after Mega Man 1. So these are these are the bosses that represent the literal rock, paper, scissor idea best. And then everything else is kind of from the audience, which is super cool. So, what did you think?
A lot of them aren't that memorable to me. The one I remember is Iceman the most, just because it has all the blocks and stuff like that. I guess I kind of remember Guts Man. It's like a construction kind of site like that. There he is, Iceman.
Yeah, these are like in the lore, these are the robots that Wily and and light built together.
Yeah.
And yeah, they all have a purpose.
Oh, yeah. To like serve humanity. That's
Right.
really cool. I like that. Oh, okay. I'm looking at the Elect Man stage. I was like, what was the Elect Man stage again? It's like, oh, now I remember this one with like the little electricity that come out. And you're like constantly climbing in this stage, which is interesting.
Right.
You're constantly going up. That's really cool. Oh, by the way, people told me about Elect Man's like the pause buffering with the thing. I had like no idea about that kind of shit.
Oh,
it's ridiculous because I was at the Yellow Devil or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And someone's like, oh, do you know the pause buffering trick? I was like, no, what is that? And he just told me. I was like, holy shit. This
Dude,
is
I don't
insane.
know if I could even, I mean, I could, but I haven't played Mega Man and not cheated like that in many years, decades.
Yeah. Dude, these games are hard, man. They're hard ass games.
In my opinion, this is the only one that I think is dead ass hard. I think all the other ones are quite manageable compared to this one.
Yeah. Sure.
This is a really uniquely tough one, especially you could tell they didn't really know what they were doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, or at least what the idea was, or like what would be the nugget of the cool idea. And 2 is kind of like that as well, in some sense, with the Metal Blade being OP, but like Elect Man can kill you in 2 seconds.
Yeah, he's crazy.
It's just weird. Like they gave him so much like he's way stronger than all the other bosses for whatever reason. Gutsman's also really strong if you run into him, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So there's like a lot of little things like that, but the Elect Man, for people that don't know, if you play Mega Man, this works for, I think, the Firestorm as well, but not as well. And it's not really a useful weapon, but the Elect Beam, the hitbox will, if you pause the game, Mega Man 1 is the only Mega Man game that can be paused. Like literally paused. If you pause a Mega Man game after Mega Man 1, you go to the menu where you select weapons. Nothing's happening in the game, but it's not a true pause. There's a thing where if you shoot the Elect Beam, which is just like this electrical attack you get from Elect Man, as seen here, then pause it and then unpause it, the hitbox is recreated. So if the hitbox is as long as the sprite. So if the hitbox hits the enemy and then it will go through them, but if you stop it when it hits them and then restart it, it'll hit them again. And then it will slowly kind of carve through an enemy, and you can kill these enemies with one of them, really, if you do it well.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really useful. Yeah, the Yellow Devil is really useful, and it's useful against your clone as well, because that boss fight's annoying as fuck. I don't know that I've done Mega Man straight up without cheating in that way in a long time. There was a time where I was really a purist. Like, again, we used to call it arm cannon dueling, which was like beating the game with just the weapons you had to use, and that's it.
Yeah. And
I was really good at doing that, but I don't know that I would be able to do it anymore. And yeah, Mega Man 1's a truly challenging game.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, once I learned like some tricks, like the Elect Man stuff, it's like it makes it so much more manageable. Because like you say, if you try to just do the arm cannon, it is a tough ass game. Good luck. But it can be done, which is cool. Yeah, Mega Man 1, cool ideas. I like that it's the origin. It's cool to see, but I think it's the worst one.
It definitely is, dude. Yeah, like the boss, there's only 6 bosses instead of 8. They do add they add Time Man and Oil Man 2 Powered Up, which is the PSP remake of Mega Man 1. And that's a good game. Mm-hmm. Really good game. And I wish they did more. I always wanted to do that 2 and 3 in that style, but I just don't think it sold well. And I just think they were like, we're not going to bother doing this. But it had like that really cute mid-aughts chibi style. If people want to go check it out, I would love for them to even bring that. It'd be possible to bring that to PS4 and PS5 if PSP games are coming up. That would be pretty sick.
One of the collections, man. Yeah,
it's just kind of a forgotten game for some reason. There's a few of Mega Man games like that are just like, we just pretend this doesn't exist for some reason. So yeah, Mega Man 1, 6 bosses instead of 8. It doesn't have the classic stage select screen yet. Like Mega Man 2 stage select screen is iconic, but it was the first time that they did that with the portraits, which is so cool. I mean, that to me is the coolest part of Mega Man are the bosses. And then when they pop out and then they do their little their little stance, super cool. And I think they really did a nice job, as I said in 11 with that, where the bosses read exactly like how they should read, as like campy and strange. Yeah. And I always bring up over and over again the figure skating robot in Mega Man 11. I just think that's such a fucking sick idea. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. Like, you get it. They reprogrammed a figure skating robot. Why would they do that? No one knows. But he's really violent now. and it's super cool. This is a little more conventional, where it's like, yeah, Cutman cuts down trees, and Iceman is an Arctic explorer, and Bombman does detonations at mines and all that. And they make these robots for the betterment of humankind, and then Dr. Wily is jealous and reprograms them and tries, and then you get to Mega Man 2, where those are Wily's robots. And so, which I think internally, in terms of the internal logic, explains why they're so different in some sense. Sure. Where they're robots, made more for just violence, or like seemingly so, even though they all have practical applications too. So yeah, Mega Man 1 introduced some cool stuff, rolls in there. Which is neat. The ending's a little boring, but all the endings are pretty boring in Mega Man. They don't really mean anything. They don't really tell you what's going on. All of the Mega Man lore comes from people interpreting what they think happened. Like I believe the rapper Mega Ran is responsible for half of Mega Man's lore being understood the way it is by people. I don't know if you ever listen to his stuff. Like he's one of the people that's really put it into like the story into words and like what happened and all of the rest. So I'm glad Mega Man, you got to get through it. After that, it's all great. It's all definitely excellent after that.
Yeah, 2 is definitely a step up. But let's talk about 2. 2 is kind of the most famous, I guess, out of the classic Mega Mans.
Did you play on normal or difficult?
Just normal. Mm-hmm. No, I don't
The
care.
Normal mode doesn't exist in the Japanese version, I don't think.
Yeah, the difficult's the Japanese version of the game, I guess. But it's definitely a step up. Why do you think it's the most famous out of all of them?
It's a good question. Some of it probably has to do with like coverage and Nintendo Power and there not being many games available ever. I mean, a lot of them by a standard, but 1,000 games on NES total or so, not even. I think the great games really popped to the top, and they became these icons for people that, not unlike today. I think there's these echelons of games, and the games in the top echelon on NES are notable to a lot of people because I think they're just fundamentally better to anyone who plays games than a lot of the other tripe that we were playing on these consoles. So a game like Mega Man 2 just sticks out for that. I also think it has like an aesthetic to it. There could be a lot of weird things in the West about like marketing and Captain N and all of this shit that made Mega Man more relevant at the time. Although Captain N's interpretation of Mega Man is fucking horrible. But there could be that as well. But the dates kind of line up. You're talking about 88, 89, 90 for some of these games. And so all of those kind of line up. But I think Mega Man 2 has an attractive aesthetic. I think it's highly playable. I think the normal mode probably has a lot to do with it being sticky in the West. It was probably not a bad idea to do that. And when I play it just for fun, I play on normal because I'm just like, it's just blazing through this. If I want to like really challenge myself, Mega Man 2 is fairly difficult on difficult mode, which is normal in Rockman 2. And I think the bosses are probably amongst the most iconic, although I think they set some predicates for what the bosses would become. Really fast boss, really big, tough boss, boss with useful weapon, boss that could be spoofed, all these different things. So kind of some of these fundamental archetypes for the bosses as well. And I think that stage select screen is truly iconic. I think that has a lot to do with it. Like, I just think it looks so different than everything on the console.
I think honestly, a lot of it to me is the music.
Oh yeah.
I think Mega Man 2 music is so good. There's so many good tracks. Like all the Robot Masters songs are good. The Dr. Wily stage theme is of course legendary. Everyone knows that one. Just so much of the music in that game rules. But I do think a lot of it is just the iconic design, like you're saying. The Robot Masters are super unique. I guess it's kind of funny to me doing like Heat Man right after Fireman, but it's cool. He's like he's like a little lighter.
Yeah, he's a Zippo. Yeah,
he's like a Zippo lighter. That's awesome. Quick Man, fuck that stage, dude. The little beams that come out and hit you, dude. Oh my god,
I love that stage.
But you get the stop power. Once you get the stop power, though, I was doing it there. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, just use a stop power on that." I was like, yeah, of course. That's really cool. I like when Robot Master powers could be used in stages, not required, but they can help you get through it. I always love stuff like that. I think that's really cool. Bowman, I love. Airman, I think is really cool as well. I think just the Robot Masters. Hardman, he's okay.
Hardman's in 3.
Hardman's 3. What's the Gemini Man? What's he? No, Gemini Man's 3.
Woodman, you might be thinking.
What's like no, not Woodman. It's the blue one.
Oh, Flashman.
Not Airman. Flashman. That's it. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, Flashman. I'm trying to remember his stage. He has the stop power though.
Yeah, it's the slippery. Woodman. It's the stage that's all slippery.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. I love Woodman. Woodman's one of my favorites. Yeah, just something about that guy. Once you pick him and he starts beating his chest right away, I'm like, all right, I'm in for good shit right here. That's a good Robot Master. But I think 2 is like such a huge improvement over 1. It's awesome how much better it is, in my opinion. It's so great. I think the Metal Blade is just too OP. I mean, it's cool going through it, but I just wish it was a little less useful because you can use that for like the entire game pretty much.
Right. Well, that's why going to Bubble Man is it's a choice, and it's fine because he's not that hard to beat with an arm cannon.
Easy,
but
yeah.
Yeah, Metal Blades will eviscerate him. And so yeah, going Metal Man, Bubble Man, it's difficult because to do Heat Man stage, you really need to beat Airman first. And so that's, I think, the reason why a lot of people, especially more recently, have looked at Airman as a good place to start. Another reason is because Airman's weakness is the leaf shield, and he's really weak to it, but you have to kind of get behind him to do it. It's kind of difficult because his little tornadoes will just block anything that you send at him, and the arm cannon kind of can fit through them a little bit better. So that's kind of where I start. But you're right, and that's what I was saying earlier about Mega Man 1, right? Where Mega Man 2 is really the last Mega Man game that makes the choice of saying, like, you really do need to do something in some order for this to make some sort of sense. And they do it twice, where and Wily Stage requires all sorts of stuff, but that's fine because you have it all. But the first one is Quick Man Stage, like you said. Quick Man Stage can be done without the time stopper, like,
yeah, of course,
and it's good. I learned young how to do it, and it's fun because it allows you to kind of break the order a little bit, because you really then need to get Quick Man out of the way last. Otherwise, like, everyone always leaves him for last. Which is funny because the quick boomerangs are not that useful. They're useful against the dragon and Mega in the first stage, in the first Wily stage.
That's about it. Yeah,
and I guess the Guts Dozer. I don't know why I know all this stuff. I love
the Guts Dozer, man. That thing ruled.
Well, we'll get into that because the boss fights in this game are where they really start becoming Mega Man like, and the ways that they trick the NES into allowing them to do shit like this is really cool, and we can get into that because they're backgrounds, right? It's a really dynamic use of the NES, like the way they do things. And a lot of games, these are very sophisticated games by Nintendo NES standards. But the Quick Man Stage is one where it kind of funnels you, and it says, like, you got to beat Flash Man first. And I don't like that kind of stuff that they do. And then Heat Man Stage, like you said. So that suggests you need to beat Airman, get item 1, which is the Rush Jet style thing, and then use that to skip the disappearing blocks stuff. They stopped doing that later, which is really cool. Because it's too suggestive. And I think it's bad design, actually, in some sense. If you're really truly I think everyone should be weak to and strong against one weapon, and you just got to find a place to jump in the circle. And Mega Man 4 is really the game that starts allowing you to really jump in. Like, it's a fucking true loop, and you just jump in. Because even Mega Man 3 is a little weird with that. 2, let's see what else. Yeah, cool bosses. Obviously, I think Quick Man's fucking dope. I used to dress up.
It looks cool.
So when I was a kid, do I have it? I get it when we talk about Mega Man 3. I was obsessed with some of these bosses, and I had like a boomerang, and I would like rubber band it to my head.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
I just think there's a little cool panache that a lot of people don't notice on the stage select screen for Mega Man 2, where everyone's inside the box, but Quick Man's boomerang goes outside the box. So, and it's really, really neat. There's just like little cool design quirks like that I think kind of point him as being the coolest of the enemies, but they're all cool. Bubble Man's super cool with his goggles, and
I love Bubble Man.
All of that. Heat Man is neat. I like Flash Man. I don't really understand what he's doing. Like, I don't understand. Mega Man, I've talked about this extensively because I think I did another podcast about it. But like, this idea I have for a game, like a remade Mega Man game in 3D, like AAA open world that combines Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 1 together. So you do Mega Man 2 first, and then you do Mega Man 1 second, like the bosses for Mega Man 2, and then the bosses for Mega Man 1. And I have this idea that like you're in a city, and each part of the city is kind of occupied by the different characters. And so I always thought like Woodman would be in like Central Park or something, right? And Heat Man would be like at the Foundry. And so an Airman would be at a weather control station or something like that. And I always thought Flash Man would be at like the TV station, like something cool like that. And like the stage would, like, that's kind of how I envision him. So he's kind of cool. Crash Man's a cool character with the crash bombs. And that stage is cool because it's all nighttime.
Yeah, that is cool.
What else? Yeah, Metal Man. I mean, so I love Metal Man because he won't attack you if you don't attack him, which is funny. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. You can just
stand there and nothing will happen.
Really?
He won't fire at you until you fire at him, and if you stop firing at him, he'll stop fighting you. And I always thought that was cool. Like, he's like a ninja, kind of like a honorable or whatever.
Honorable robot. Yeah.
So like, if you just fire at him once, he'll like jump up and maybe fire a blade at you and then just stop and won't act. And of course, if you fight him with the metal blade in Wily's castle, you can kill him in one hit. With his own weapon.
Yeah. That's really awesome. But yeah, I think I like a lot of the design of the Robot Masters. I guess just Flashman's the one I'm just kind of like,
Yeah, he's fine.
I don't really know what your thing is though. I just don't understand super well. Like we'll get into. I have questions about like Gemini Man stage when we get to that later. But Mega Man 2, really fun game, really good, really starting to find its legs there.
Definitely. And then like you said, the music's excellent. They bring in the Wily logo for the first time,
so good.
which is cool. And what else? Yeah, and then so the bosses now this isn't unheard of because you have big somewhat room size bosses. They're actually kind of small, but like the Rock Monster in Mega Man 1. But Mega Man 2 is so cool because the scene where the dragon's chasing you, for instance, like that's just a cool little touch. Then you stop and turn around, you're trapped, and you have to fight them. And this happens later with the Guts Dozer and all sorts of where these things are just backgrounds with platforms and active hitboxes on them and stuff, and it's so clever. And sometimes the games chug when they're doing it. It's really pushing the system to its limit, but these are such better realized games. That's why I love them so much, because they really are truly. I'm very familiar with the NES catalog. It's what I grew up on. Like they are way better than almost anything. All 6 of them. I remember when we did the top NES games, the top 100 NES games at IGN, and I was like, listen, Mega Man 1 would be in the list somewhere, but 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are probably all legitimately top 20. Like, and we had to kind of spread them out because it was ridiculous. And I was like, I'm like, the top 25 would be 3 Castlevania games, 3 Mario games, 6 Mega Man games, 3 Ninja Gaiden games. Like the games that floated to the top were great. Yeah. And so they did find something here worth replicating, and they made them very quickly after this, which is really cool. And I'm glad they did it too. There was no financial need for them to do Mega Man 2. They made it as the story famously goes, they kind of made it on their own and didn't present it to anyone until it was done or near done. And so yeah, that's what's going on with that. But Mega Man 2 is highly recommended. I don't know that I recommend jumping into Mega Man 2 first, just because if you want to play them all, if you're cool skipping one completely, I guess do that. But you really should start with one otherwise, because it's a step backwards. You're starting at the worst possible place and moving your way up, as opposed to jumping into some of the best places and then moving your way back, which I'm not crazy about that. If
you're like new to the series or something, I would not start with there. I would not start with Mega Man 1, I should say. Oh, wait, here's a great question. JTY Oni wrote in, for the legend that is Southern Man, as someone who's never played Mega Man, what makes it one of y'all's favorite platformers? And why might a newbie want to give it a shot in 2025? So, newbie giving it a shot, we kind of talked about some of the stuff we love about it. What do you think is a good starting spot, too, for Mega Man, a newcomer?
I don't know. It's like I said, I think if you want to have like an all-inclusive experience, it's very similar to Castlevania. It's like if you want to play the best old NES Castlevania game, just play Castlevania 3. But if you're really interested in like seeing them all, then you should just play them from the beginning. And the original Castlevania is very playable and very good, just like the original Mega Man is very playable and very good. It's the worst one. It also feels a little different. Mega Man drops like a rock in that game compared to the other games. I don't know if you noticed that. Like there's a different feel to it. The music's really tinny. It's a very basic game. It's an early NES game. I mean, the NES, look at Mega Man 6 when you get to that game. It's like, holy shit. How do they even do this on the NES? It looks incredible. So many like layers and colors, and the music's fucking incredible. So they do get more out of the machine. But I say if you're really interested in seeing where it goes and getting through it, then start with 1. Otherwise, then 2 is the place that you probably want to jump into, as long as you understand that if you go back to 1 from there, you're going to be regressing. Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk about Mega Man 3 now.
Sure. My favorite.
So this is the one I played the most growing up. I had this is the one I actually owned. And I remember playing it a lot, and I really liked it. And I think Mega Man 3 is still very good. I think it's better than 2, honestly. I don't think it's like the music is as iconic, maybe, or some of the Robot Masters, maybe, but I think movement and everything, I think the slide just adds a lot to that game, where it's one of those things where I'm like, you can never take this away. You have to have this in every Mega Man game now from now on. Do you kind of agree with me on that?
Yeah, Mega Man 3 is my favorite game of all time.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, it's a fucking sick game, but a lot of it has to do with nostalgia too. It was the first one I owned as well.
Mm-hmm.
I got it for Christmas, I want to say in 1990. And we used to rent Mega Man. I've told the story before, but so my neighbor had Mega Man 1 and that's how I played it. I didn't own Mega Man 1 until the SNES era. I went and bought it at Funkoland. And it was comically cheap. It's so funny when you think about things. Like there was nothing,
Mm-hmm.
everything was, I just bought everything when I didn't know. I know.
I know.
And Mega Man 2 is what we used to go to this video store, this local like mom and pop video store, Showtime Video. And we used to rent it from them constantly. And they eventually sold it to us. That was after Mega Man 3. They were like, just fucking
take it.
Yeah. Like you're the only people that rent this thing. And they probably made like $200 on renting, selling it, over time. It's like, just take the fucking game. And so Mega Man 3 was I remember getting it. I had an ad for it on so there was that Mega Man 3 Nintendo Power. People might remember. It has horrible drawings in it. It's like the fucking ugliest shit ever. It's really bad.
I gotta find this. Yeah.
And the box art for Mega Man 3 is not very good either. They still didn't really know what Mega Man was. It wasn't really until 4 that they started to kind of get them better in the West. And it really wasn't until 5 and especially 6 that got good box art in the West.
Yeah, this is real ugly, dude.
Yeah, like
this
just horrible.
Holy moly.
But I had some of that shit on my wall and there was a Mega Man 3 ad that I had on my wall and I was just really excited to play it. And so Mega Man 3 is now that I know about games and like understand them infinitely better than I did when I was a kid. It's like, yeah, Mega Man 3, you can see Mega Man 3 seams and you can see why some people don't regard it as highly as I do or that you do. It's clearly a game that was rushed to market and is incomplete. We know that for multiple reasons. The first is that there's clearly supposed to be an opening cinematic and there isn't one. The song is like 3.5 minutes long and nothing happens. It doesn't make any sense. So people and there's some evidence in the graphic base, like in unused assets, that there's stuff in it for that never came together. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff too. There are like enemies and obstacles and shit that were just never used, but that are on the cartridge. So there was some rushing to it to get it to market. And it's the Mega Man game that runs the worst out of the.
It runs by far the worst.
And that is a bummer. And I know that when Digital Eclipse, I think it was, brought the Mega Man collection to PS4 and I guess not Switch at the time, but Wii U or whatever the fuck it was, and Xbox, they were talking about Mega Man 3 specifically because these are straight emulations. And it's like, there is an option to fix this.
Right.
But people that like Mega Man 3 and know how to play it actually know how to utilize the slowdown and some of the technical issues to their advantage. And so I've never played Mega Man 3 fixed. I think emulators can do it. And for people that don't know, Mega Man 3 suffers from a lot of slowdown. Yeah. If there's too much going on the screen, flickering, which is usually the way that you would deal with that problem, is not sufficient. And so there are parts of the game that truly break down. I think of Hardman stage with the bees doesn't run right.
Oh my God.
The Gemini Man stage with the explosions that are happening from underneath when you're jumping over the platform slows down like crazy, but it makes the dragonflies are flying at you. It's the game just doesn't know how to do this stuff and they never fixed it. I don't know. I think they wanted to get it out for Christmas probably. And so they just didn't have time. And so its problems shine through, but that was Mega Man 3 to me. I was just like, oh yeah, that's just the way it is. Right. And it really is the last one that does that. All the other games are like way more refined. And I love the bosses. It's my favorite slate, in my opinion, of bosses. I think
they're all
in the old
awesome.
Series.
I think my least favorite ones would be Needleman and Hardman, I guess, out of all of them. Because like I love Shadow Man.
Yeah, he's dope.
I love Gemini Man.
Dope.
I love Snake Man.
Snake Man, that's Dagan's favorite. Magnet Man is my favorite. I love Magnet Man.
Top Man's sick too. I like Elect Man. Or no, not like Spark Man.
Yeah.
It's like I love a lot of these guys. What's the deal with the tadpoles in Gemini Man stage? What's going on there? There's like these little like
sperms?
Eggs, you shoot. In Gemini Man stage, like little tadpoles come out.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like I always read Gemini Man stages, you're on the moon, like a moon base maybe or something. Like it seems like you're in space. but I don't know, because that opening is cool. It's like the starry background, all the. That's another place with slow down too, is the penguin explosions and shit like that.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot in the game,
just the tadpoles. You could slow the shit out of the game down in the game if you just start shooting them, but leave them all on the screen. So there's too many sprites. I don't know what the internal logic is behind that. I do know that what I love here is there's little. So I love Mega Man 3's story, and it's something that they get into a little bit in the instruction manual, but they don't really talk about. Do you know what it's about? Like,
no.
It's kind of cool, and there's little hints of it if you know to look. So it's about how Wily and Light kind of like make amends, and they create a new robot together called Gamma, which is the robot you fight at the very end, like the room size robot. And there are these cool bespoke logos that only appear in Mega Man 3, and they are only seen in a couple of parts of the game. But there are these logos, like the Dr. Wily logo, but it's RW. I don't know if you saw them anywhere. They're on Magnet Man stage and somewhere else. And it's like the R, and then the R goes into a W. W is for light, right in Japanese. WRIGHT. And it was like their logo of like coming back together. And I always wanted to get a shirt made of that too, which is really cool. So it's about how Wily basically betrays Light again. And from there, then the stories get kind of crazier, because then you have Dr. Cossack and obviously Proto Man's here.
So first appearance. You
said the slides added, of course, and this is the perfect play style, because I think Mega Man 4 kind of starts to break Mega Man a little bit, and we can get into that. But the slide is introduced. Rush is introduced. My beloved Rush.
Classic Rush.
So we have items. We have the Magnet Beam in Mega Man 1, and then we have item 1, 2, and 3, which are basically Rush, but without a characterization behind it. And then they were like, why don't we make this into a character? Which is smart. So they made it into a dog. And so Rush is in there, and Proto Man is introduced in this, but he's known as Break Man in Mega Man 3. And his little iconic whistle and all of the rest. Super cool.
Yeah. So good. I love Snake Man stage, because there's like these giant snakes, like heads. I remember coming out, and they kind of like move.
Like you have to you can use them to jump really high if you like time your jumps. Yes, the Snake Man's a great place to start. So yeah, what was your boss order in this? There's a few good places to start.
I went Top Man. I always go. Top Man was always who I started with.
Yeah, he's easy.
Don't know why.
Well, because he's easy. It was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I like his stage. I'm just like, what does this have to do with Top Man? This stage. It's like a greenhouse, almost like leaves and stuff everywhere behind glass. It's like, I don't know what this has to do with Top Man, but that's all right. How are you gonna make a stage out of tops? Like a toy store, a dreidel store?
Yeah, I always did read it as they're like occupying these places. Like Shadow Man's in some sort of factory with like all the lava and the foundry stuff and whatever.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense.
Spark Man's in like a power station, you know.
Snake Man's stage is like there's giant fucking snakes everywhere. So I'm like, okay, this makes a little more sense, I guess.
And he's like in the air somewhere too. Which is cool, because I love the end of the stage when you're in the air and you're like jumping over those things to his lair. It's kind of cool.
And a Lek Man stage is cool. There's like a lot of like electricity going on through it, wiring. Spark Man, sorry. God damn it. But I like Magnet Man stage because it has like the magnets that can lift you up when you're moving.
Yeah, and you can use those to jump and stay in the air. So so you start top and then you go Shadow, Spark, I guess.
I'm trying to remember. I think I went to Snake Man and I died, and I was like, okay, gonna go off. Then I think I went to Shadow Man after that, because someone's like, oh, Shadow Man's his weakness.
Yeah, and you have to use Top Man's weapon is one of only a few weapons where it's like your body.
Yeah, he spins actually. It's
right,
funny.
And you can really fuck you. First of all, you can use all the energy really quickly if you're not careful,
really
and you can die really easily doing it too.
Really easy, yeah. I remember I was like, this power sucks when I used it, but it's really good against a couple things in the game.
Shadow Man's tough because his programming keeps it magnetized on you. Like he'll just always face you. You can't get behind him really or anything like that.
Yeah, he's a tough son of a bitch. But I think Gemini Man stage is my favorite, just from aesthetically. It looks really cool, man. All like the crystals and the night sky. Really good stuff. I'm trying to remember, what was Needle Man's stage? I don't even remember.
Needle Man's it's like a cityscape with like the stuff in the back, like cities in the like a skyline in the background. Looks like you're maybe on top of some buildings and shit like that.
Okay, yeah, that looks more familiar. Okay, yeah, like the rolling enemy with the spikes. Yeah, okay, I remember this guy now. Yeah, that's all good stuff. Oh yeah, does he have like the trash? Like Spark Man has like the trash that comes down in his stage, like rocks. Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to remember all that.
And that causes slowdown too.
Oh yeah, everything is slowed down in this game. It's crazy. So much.
Yeah. So all right. So because this game again, I said 4 is the one that really starts the full circle of bosses. This one kind of has it, but it's still broken in some place. You have to make like a decision at some point and go in different directions. So I would typically do Magnet Man, just because I like doing him first. Like I just like, and then you could go Magnet, Hard, Top, Shadow, Spark, but then or you could do like, I know Dagon starts Snake, Gemini, Needle, Magnet, and then you jump in from that portion.
Interesting.
But because Snake Man's pretty easy to do, especially because I think there's an E-Tank on his stage if you need it. But
I think so, yeah.
He's pretty easy with the arm cannon, and he kind of does the same thing over and over again. He just runs back and forth. He has one of the uneven stages a la Flashman, I guess, in Mega Man 2, where you can't just run back and forth. You have to actually jump. Sparkman has a similar stage. This is so sad. Why do I know so much about I haven't even played these games in years. It's really sad. It's fucking crazy, man. I need to like dedicate myself to something more fruitful. But okay, so yeah, the what else? So what about the interstitial stages? This is what I love about Mega Man 3, and one of my favorite things is
when you beat the Roadmasters, you get like the shadow stages or whatever.
This is the coolest part of the game. I mean, this is I think an massively underrated and brilliant part of the game, and they don't do something like this again until 10, I want to say, which is fighting bosses from other games. And
that is cool.
And I thought
you like see them,
right?
Like their spirits go into it or something like that. Yeah, that's awesome.
And if you ever look at the art, I think his name is Darkman or whatever. The art of the robot you're fighting over and over again. He has like the arm cannons and the weapons of the different enemies on his body, and so he attaches them as he needs them or whatever. It's like really cool.
Yeah, that
idea.
Cool.
But for people that don't know, if you're listening, after you beat the 8 bosses, you usually go to Wily's castle and fight in there. And that still exists, but in between, you go back to 4 of the stages, and they're different. And so you go back to Sparkman stage, you go back to Gemini Man stage, Needle Man, so on. And there are 2 bosses in each of these stages, split in half, and you fight the same boss 8 times. It's like this black and yellow and red robot called Darkman, but you see the spirit or whatever of a Mega Man 2 robot entering his body as you enter. So it would be like Quickman's, and then you're fighting Quickman for Mega Man 2. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool.
Dude, when I was a kid, I was like, blew my fucking mind. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I've been kind of chasing that high ever since, because in 4, 5, and 6, they replaced that idea with having 2 fortresses, basically. So like Dr. Cossack and then Dr. Wily, Proto Man, Dr. Wily, Mr. X, Dr. Wily. And this one, they did it a little bit differently. And so when you go back to the stages, it's cool, because when you go back to Sparkman stage, it's all fucked up because you've already been through it. And it's all you've like I've always read it as like, you wrecked this place. Like, this is the result of what you did here. And now you're going back because there are more enemies to remove. And like when you go back to Needleman stage, it's dark now. It's nighttime. That's kind of cool. There are nice little touches like that instead of being daytime. This is 1990. It's a pretty heady thing.
Pretty thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty thoughtful.
I really, really like that as well. And figuring out that's a really difficult part of the game. That's still a part of the game that I haven't memorized, believe it or not, where I still have to like look and be like, who's weak against what? Because it's a little bit obtuse in that regard. And then you go to Wily's castle. And I think the music in Wily's castle in Mega Man 3 is the best music in Mega Man, in my opinion. Okay. I absolutely love that first song that they play.
Okay.
On the first 2 stages. That's my shit. So yeah, shout out to and then of course at the end you fight Gamma, the so-called peacekeeping robot. Yeah, the it's so fucking sick. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, this is a good song. You're right. Oh, I love like the Rush like submarine you get and stuff too. It's so goofy. I love shit like that. It's so funny.
Because you barely need it. It's useful on like Gemini Man stage and then in Wily's castle. Again, that to me is like, we didn't have time to implement this.
Yeah. Yeah. We just kind of rushed through it in there. But still, Mega Man 3, fucking really fun. Awesome game. If you can get over the slowdown. But it's an awesome game. Definitely still, I think, my favorite so far.
They're all great from here, in my opinion. So
yeah. Mega Man 4. So I've played I'm maybe killed half the Robot Masters, I want to say, or something like that. And so far, I think it's pretty good. I started with Toadman.
Yeah, that's
just
where you should start.
I'm like, oh, Toadman, this is hilarious. I just like the way this guy looks. Really funny stage going through the sewers and everything like that. He has some rain he can do, his rain attack. I really like, but I think you can just interrupt him the whole time.
Right? Yeah, he does a rain dance, and if you interrupt him from doing the dance, he's a really cute robot because he shakes his body, and then
he's really
does
funny.
This dance, and then the rain just comes, the toxic rain or whatever. That's the first Toadman stage is really cool, and I remember playing that game. So I got Mega Man 4 when it came out when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, this is so cool because it's the first stage that does something that affects you.
Mm-hmm.
And that in this case, it's raining and the rain is going in different directions and you can jump with the wind or against the wind. It's the first of the games that you see it later in Gravity Man stage in Mega Man 5 where it's totally fucking crazy. I'm like, whoa. I remember playing that and being like, this is fucking sick, where you're playing upside down and all that stuff. This was the first kind of game where they started doing shit like that. Because you also have that in Mega Man or in Pharaoh Man stage with the sand. And so on, that can suck you down and all of the rest. So yeah, Toadman's a really great play. And I love the design. It's a ridiculous robot. He's a fucking, I hope to God they make a Toyman or a Toadman in that toy line for Jada Toys or whatever. Because he's really, really cool. Because the Woodman toy is very similar where it's just this bulky thing.
It's awesome.
And 4 is the first one. So now from here, there are orders. It's just a matter of where you jump in. It's a full loop. And I think in 4, people jump in typically with Toadman, Ringman, or Dustman.
Okay.
Those are the most beatable, in my opinion, bosses. There are bosses that you're going to get the shit beat out of you if you go to it without. Pharaoh Man is really, really tough. You could do it if you have an E-Tank. Bright Man is going to be pretty tough because there's just a system. He's going to hit you over and over again. It's almost impossible to avoid getting hit. So you really need to kill him because he'll stay frozen until he hits you. So you have to just do as much damage as you can to him. Drill Man's pretty tough without. And Dive Man would be pretty tough without the appropriate weapons. But yeah, you're only halfway. So you're halfway through. So you did Toadman, Bright Man, Pharaoh Man, Ring Man, I guess.
I've done Toadman, Pharaoh, Ring. Oh, wait. I think maybe I've only killed 3. I don't think I did Bright Man.
Oh, so you did Pharaoh Man without Bright Man?
No, I didn't. No, I did the Toad. I did Toad. I think Pharaoh Man was weak to Toad, wasn't he?
No, Bright's weak to Toad. Pharaoh's weak to Bright. Well,
whatever. I killed him. I don't know. I killed him.
That's Bright Man's weapon basically is the time stopper, and you use it to stop Pharaoh Man from running around, so you can just shoot him.
I'd have to look. Maybe I did kill Bright Man then. I can't remember. Maybe I did.
That's a cool stage too. A lot of really cool enemies on that stage, and great music on Bright Man stage as well.
Let me see really quick if I remember that. Oh, the grasshopper.
Okay, and you use the grasshoppers as platforms.
Yeah, okay. This stage was cool. I remember this stage. Yeah. I was like, what is the grasshoppers doing with Bright Man? But it's okay. I always get hung up on that kind of stuff with Mega Man games. I'm like, why does this have to do with this robot? But that was a fun stage. So I did do that. Yeah. Bright Pharaoh, then Ring.
Cool robots in this game. I think Skullman's a pretty cool robot. There is some logic. The logic doesn't really work, or it does. So Rain, Toadman works on Bright Man. Bright Man's electric. So I guess that's that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then Bright Man's weapon stops Pharaoh Man from moving quickly. I guess maybe the fire weapon that Pharaoh Man uses heats up the rings or something of Ring Man. And then you're getting Ring Man to Dust Man. Dust Man, the dust decays the skulls. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know. But there is an order in the game. So
Dustman's hilarious. I just he had just a big dust vent on his head. It's so funny, dude. It's so good.
It's super cool.
Yeah. Skullman's interesting. I'll be interested to see these other Robot Masters when I get to them. But it's always really fun going into a new Robot Master stage, seeing their stage, seeing them. It's always so fun and exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of these Robot Masters. And I can't wait to get to the other ones. 5 and 6 are such blurs for me. I barely remember anything about them. 7, I've never beaten. 8, I have beaten. I remember that. 9 and 10, I've beaten. I haven't beaten 11, though. So I got some work to do still.
Yeah, 11's good. 7 and 8, I like them. I think 7's probably the worst one.
I like 8, and I know it's bad. I think I like the charming qualities to it, like how shitty the voice acting is.
Oh, yeah, horrible.
And the cutscenes. I liked Clown Man stage I know a lot of people don't.
I'm
but I always
Clown
love
Man. Yeah, because they give like
all the voice acting so bad in that game. It's so good.
I do like some of the bosses though. Sword Man's a really cool boss. Tengu Man's really cool.
Tengu Man, yes.
And there's like Search Man who has like 2 heads, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, that is cool. 2-headed boss.
It's just, to me, I'm just a purist. Like I just wanted an 8-bit. And I thought when they did, I understand it's like 7 would be on SNES. Okay, 8 on PS1. I get it. But I thought when they did 9 and 10 and they made them 8-bit Mega Man 2 style games, like short, no sliding. I was like, oh, they kind of get it. This is what it's kind of supposed to be. But then they made 11, and 11 just fucks with the gameplay so much where I'm like, wow, you really fucked with the gameplay here, where this is kind of not a mainline Mega Man game in a lot of ways to me. But it is cool. It's way better. I was very begrudging about it when it came out. I'm like,
sure.
I don't know about this, but it is good. I'm eager to see what they do with a 12 or an X or whatever. Now, with 4, what do you think about the Mega Buster? Because this is a very the charge shot. Yeah, the charge shot. This is a very divisive thing because people, and I kind of agree with this. This comes from Mega Man X, really, or shares it with Mega Man X, I should say. Yeah. They're kind of contemporaneous. 4 is a little earlier, not much though. And like X comes out after 5, but before 6, as I recall. So I feel like it.
6? No, do you mean before 7?
No, I think X came out and then 6 came out to NES.
Oh, like, really?
Yeah, I think X was 93 and in the West, and 6 was 94.
Oh,
6 is so late that Capcom didn't even publish it. Nintendo published it.
Oh, okay.
Here they did. So, and that's why it has like the red label NES box and all the rest. It's pretty cool when you look at it because it's a Nintendo box. So I just feel like with they get away with kind of dumbing down the gameplay. You're always charging. I mean, if you're playing Mega Man 4, 5, or 6 at a high level, you're always charging. It's always
it's kind of annoying.
The sound, right? And I just feel like it's like, oh, it's kind of breaking the rhythm. It breaks the rhythm of the game, in my opinion. Now it's cool. You could play again. You choose the buttons you press, but why would the game's designed to be using that? And so you really should be using it. And it's more fun to run and gun. And I really think that that's why, when 9 and 10 were coming around and Inafune was still involved at this time, it's like, I think that they were being like, yeah, what do we look at as the perfect Mega Man play style? And I think they looked at 2. I would have looked at 3. And that's what I was hoping with when 9 came out. I was like, 9 came out and it was Mega Man 2 and it had like a very short end stage. And I'm like, okay, so they're designing after Mega Man 2. This one will be designed after Mega Man 3. And they just did Mega Man 2 again, which was the frustrating part about it. So yeah, what do you think about that power? Because it never goes away after that.
Yeah, it's kind of like I've played many of the X games, and later on in the X games, I always picked 0 over X because one reason is charge shot. It's really cool shooting it off a lot of times, but I definitely hate holding it down the entire playthrough. It's kind of gets annoying to me after a little bit. I think it's really fun. It's a catch-22 for me. I think it's cool because the power you get from it's awesome, especially when you upgrade them in later games, like in the X games where they just get crazier, bigger shots, which is really fun. But in 4 right now, I don't know. I feel like I don't need it as much yet where I'm like struggling without using. I do use it, but if I don't get one off, it's not as big of a deal right now. It feels like, but I kind of prefer without it. But at the same time, I like shooting it every now and then. I just wish it wasn't something I think about having to hold down all the time, because I'm thinking like trying to play the most efficiently, like you were saying, like how like a lot of the pros do it. But I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it, but I slightly prefer not having it in Mega Man games.
Yeah, the slide is good, but the power shot. The
slide, yeah.
If anything, the power shot becomes so useful that it doesn't preclude you from doing it, but it kind of stops you from even really exploring the other weapons in the game, because you have this other option that's just a mainline option of just holding down B. In a lot of ways, since you're holding down the B button while you're playing it a lot like you'd play Mario 1.
Yeah, to run fast. Right. Yeah.
And where you're using the inside of your thumb to kind of hit the A as you're just mashing B down the entire time. So teach their own. And
it's weird. Like even 2D platformers I play today, like I still hold a run button a lot of times just because it's built-in habit for me. I mean, you don't need to, but it's just like it's something that's ingrained in my brain. So maybe that's why I can kind of get away with it in Mega Man, but I don't know.
Don't you love when like more? I love playing Mario with more casual people, and they just walk.
Yeah,
I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you gotta hold that button to run. Huh?
We don't have this kind of time.
Yeah, let's go. Run it. But yeah, Mega Man will continue, or I will continue my journey going through it. All the mainline ones. Got to show some respect to that Blue Bomber. But it's been fun so far. I can't wait to get some of the other ones I like. I'm much less familiar with, like 7. Like I have no idea. Pretty much, it's like a vampire guy. Like what is this? Like a Batman? What is this guy?
In which game?
7?
Shade Man.
Shade Man? Okay, he looks like a bat or something.
Yeah,
weird.
he is like a bat. I think you fight him like he's up, like holding from the top of the stage. One
of these guys, Castle Man or something. He looks like a bishop or
that's us. Is that that's from Mega Man 11?
No, 7.
That's also from 7. The wall. Let me look. Mega Man 7 bosses. This is the game I know least well. Oh, that's Burst Man, I think.
Burst Man? Okay.
Yeah, that's Burst Man.
Okay. It will be interesting.
He was originally created to guard a chemical plant.
Oh. Okay. Looks like a chess piece.
Yeah, he does.
All right, then. Cool. All right, well, that's it for Mega Man. We talked about an hour, I think, of Mega Man. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm always happy to do it.
We'll talk about this more when I get further in there. Maybe when I'm finished, we'll talk about it again.
Sure, I'm happy to do it. Happy to do that.
All right, let's move on to what you've been playing, though, Colin. Phantom Fury.
Sure.
Talk to me about this.
So yeah, I stayed up pretty late last night to beat it, and it's a sequel to a 2019 boomer shooter called Ion Fury, made by a different team, actually. Team Ion, they might even been called. I don't really know. The sequel is from Slipgate Ironworks, which, as I've said many times in the past, is like my favorite or one of my favorite studio names. I fucking absolutely love that name. And so, and I think that people might know Slipgate best for, they did some work on what was that popular game, Ghost Runner? It's not their game, but I think they did some work on it, and they did a few other things too. But they're not a huge team by any stretch of the imagination. So 3D Realms still exists somehow. I have no idea how. And as a publisher, and they're doing like more of a boomer shooter, old school kind of thing, which is good. That makes a lot of sense for them as a label. And I really liked Ion Fury a lot. I bought it last year and played it, platinumed it. And it's most akin to a Doom or a Quake, that era, that early to mid 90s era of boomer shooter. And Phantom Fury is supposed to be kind of the not modern, but more modern take. So maybe something you would have found on the PS1, maybe early PS2, something like that. It's not quite as old as being like an N64 game, which I think would be more akin to a Doom 2 or something like that anyway. So this game is supposed to be more of a boomer shooter, but not quite as boomery, just more archaic. It's okay. I'm not crazy about it. I played through it on hard. I got all the trophies in the game except for one. I have to go back and there's no stage select option. So I missed a trophy in like one of the early stages where you have to do it in 10 minutes, and I'll just go back and do that and just get the platinum and walk away. And so it's functional enough. It is a direct sequel, so it's like the same character, Bombshell, Shelly, her name is, or whatever. The story doesn't really matter. Some light puzzle solving. The combat's a little weird where there's a aim assist option, which I don't mind. I don't mind aim assist on a console. Like it's like kind of necessary in some sense because you just don't have that snappiness. But this aim assist in this game works kind of weird where it doesn't seem to kind of help you steer your reticle, but rather just kind of let your bullet that's kind of near an enemy hit the enemy. So you could be like shooting next to an enemy and just totally kill the enemy, which is really weird. So it's just a pretty, it lacks a fineness. It's not technically great. It crashed a few times on me. I got stuck in the environment a few times. This isn't a spoiler. No one's going to play this game anyway. I don't think it's listening, so it doesn't matter. But late in the game, you go to Chicago and you're like fighting through the streets of Chicago, and there are palm trees everywhere. And I'm like, who the fuck made this? Like, why are there palm trees here in Chicago? Like this is Chicago is like negative 20 degrees in the winter. It's they wouldn't survive there. It made no sense. So there's just like funny little quirks and weirdness about that. I don't know where Slipgate Ironworks is located, but probably not in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's not much. It's honestly a pretty unremarkable game. And the reason that I looked into it was because, or I didn't even look into it. I said this on Sacred last week, was I remembered that when I played Ion Fury, there was a sequel, but it wasn't out on console yet, this Phantom Fury game. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll play it in the future. And then I forgot about it. And then I was going through the PlayStation store and ordering from newest to oldest, like I always do, just to see like what's been announced and what's on there. Some games are stapled to the top. There's like some pre-orders and stuff, but then it is a chronological backwards list of games that are released. And for some reason, this game was near the top, even though it had a release date of like May of last year. So there was some sort of bug, I guess. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, it was $25. So I was like, yeah, all right. And I'll buy it and play it and kind of sight unseen. And yeah, it's fine. I don't really recommend it. If you want to play one of these Fury games, I'd play Ion Fury. And I wish they just did more of the same in some sense, but they just chose not to, which is fine. But sure. I'm not crazy about it by any stretch of the imagination. It's totally functional, but that's about it. There's many a shooter you can play that's better.
Does it have kind of like a mechanic or hook to it that kind of separates itself from other shooters in the genre like this?
Not really. I mean, you can dual wield. There's like an upgrade system. There are a litany of different kinds of weapons, some conventional, some unconventional, some chemical weapons and weird, shooters and stuff like that. But no, it's fairly unremarkable. It's quite conventional. And I was looking at it, doesn't seem like anyone really played it. And it has let me see. I have it here open in a window. Here it is. On Steam, it's got mixed reviews, 547 reviews mixed. Recent reviews mixed. This was, so there are some funny things in here too. Like there was a bug where during cutscenes, there would be like lines. The cutscenes weren't very long between multiple characters or whatever, but characters would often get stuck in this hook of just saying the first line of their sequence over and over again until their time was up. And then the next person would come up and just say the first line of their thing over and over again.
That's awesome.
It's okay. It's not great. It really is reminiscent of games from 20, 22, 23 years ago.
Okay. But there's better things to choose from in this field.
Definitely. I just love FPS games and single player FPS games. So I'm always just on the hunt for them. Many of them are pretty low budget and not very good, obviously. So this is one of them. And it's not the budget that's the problem. And it's not the idea of making a turn of the century kind of style game. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think it's awesome. And they did some nice work with some of the things in it. Some of the assets are nice. The gunplay is certainly not horrible. It's just unremarkable. At $25, I think you can spend your money a lot better. Like you can get all 3 Turok games on N64 for less than that, I think.
Ooh, yeah, Turok, dude. Shout out Turok. Especially Turok 2. All right. Colin, it's time for Sorted Out. On this segment, we just talk about something that's bothering us in the game industry, something that needs a little sorting. Could be a game company, publisher, human being, perhaps. You want to get personal? I like it. Colin just got out his notepad, so he's got some notes here. What do you got, Colin?
Yeah. So for Sorted Out, I was just going to say EA and BioWare. It's not even about Dragon Age. As I've said ad nauseum, Dragon Age is not for me. It was not going to be for me whether it had fucking trans scars in it or not. It was just, I just don't care about Dragon Age. So I'm not judging it from the perspective of what the game is, if people like it or not, if they're offended by the messaging of the game and all the rest, whatever. I don't care. What I will say is that I think EA needs to liberate BioWare from this tether to the past, which no longer exists. The people that work at BioWare, by and large, aren't the people that made BioWare great. There are some people, and they've said names recently, like, the original producer and the original designer. And so, no doubt, are working on the new Mass Effect. But I think part of the reason BioWare is failing is because they're unwilling to continue. Anthem scared them away from, I think, allowing them to continue to explore new ideas, not realizing that Anthem itself was just stupid. It's just a stupid idea to make them do that. They should have used that time to make something new. Anthem should have just been a single player role-playing game. However you would have interpreted that from a gameplay perspective, from a design perspective, from statistics and role-playing elements and all the rest, you figure that out. And now I think that they have this shell, this ship of Theseus style shell that is not the original studio, that has all these expectations placed upon it and cannot, and I don't think will ever deliver ever again the way that they were expected to in the past. And part of me feels like EA is just hesitant to shut this whole studio down entirely, because I think it would be so bad. It wouldn't be bad in and of itself, because I don't think the studio is very good anymore, but just what EA has done to studios in the past, many studios in the past, it would just be another
Casualty,
another studio that they just closed for no reason in some sense. But there is cause here for that, unlike some of the studios they close, like when you're closing a Visceral or whatever, it's like, it's different. So I think that they're kind of married to the studio and this name, knowing that they're going to take a big hit if they do anything about it. But I think the best way to let BioWare breathe, especially after all these layoffs, and by the way, cowardly way to lay people off just from a messaging point of view. When we said this on the show at the time, before any more reporting was out, I was like, this is so obviously a layoff, and they don't acknowledge it at all. They're just like, we've moved some people off of the team, and we don't really need a headcount like this size anymore. So thanks for reading, signed Gary McKay or whatever. And I'm like, so that's pretty cowardly. Why can't you say that your game failed? It didn't meet expectations because the chuds didn't like it, in quotes.
Right.
And you let BioWare make something new. Let them untether themselves from these past franchises, which they largely had nothing to do with. Like, you have no Mass Effect without Drew Karpyshyn. I don't care if you have the original designer and some of the producers and artists on it. The person who wrote and conceived of the idea of Mass Effect is not there. Why are you putting an anchor around these people's necks to live up to something that they're probably not going to be able to live up to when they can make something of their own and create a new level of BioWare? This is when you have to know when to, or you should know when to move on. And the thing about BioWare, in my opinion, is that they always seemed to kind of know when to move on. And in the EA era, obviously that has been stymied entirely. But I was bringing up their games. It's like Shattered Steel to Baldur's Gate to MDK2, Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights, KOTOR, Jade Empire, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Anthem, Dragon Age. Something changed. Yeah. You know, and you announced this Mass Effect game was announced more than 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you come out and say, like, we don't need the full team to work on the game. What have you been doing?
Yeah.
How are you pre-producing the game still? How are you not ready to put it into action? Just don't do it. That would be my just pull the plug and let them just. If you're not going to
do it right, just don't do it.
Right, and just say, like, make something new.
Yeah.
Just make a new
make an
RPG.
Game. Don't make a pseudo live service game like Anthem or anything like that.
Dude, what's so crazy about Anthem though, Brad, is like, if you read about Dragon Age: The Veilguard, it was going to be a live service game.
Yeah, it was going to be.
They were so unbothered by what happened with Anthem that they're like, nonetheless, we're going to persist into this direction. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I think they're setting these people up to fail. I think Dragon Age: The Veilguard, from what I can perceive of it, was, I mean, there's no perception about it. It was a commercial failure. But I think they're just trying to hold on to this past that they have no real connection to anymore. And of course, there are BioWare employees that worked on all these games, and there are this and that, but not the key
figures.
Like your Casey Hudsons or whatever, like whatever you know, the buck does stop with someone, and like these things do run through visionaries and creators and auteurs.
Yeah.
I just think that they're setting them up to fail, and I think it's a shame.
That's such a funny example. You're talking about these people that are so key to original BioWare, or like Mass Effect not being there anymore. And I'm thinking of like the Final Fantasy VII Remake projects. And it's like a lot of people working on those games were people who worked on the original game. So it's like you still have that authenticity about it. Like the vision is still there. You know, the director's the producer on the game now. They got the same writers and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. I think, like you're saying, a lot of that kind of stuff matters. And hopefully they can bounce back in some way. But I mean, I don't have any expectations for BioWare. I don't know. They could go away, and it's just kind of. I mean, it's sad. I don't want to see that happen because I know a lot of people love that studio, but they're definitely not the same studio, guys, and they haven't been for a long time.
It's like I say, it's like a band with all new members. You
Yeah,
can
it's ship
call
the
it whatever
pieces.
you want, but it's not the band.
Right. Yeah.
And without and like every band usually runs through one or two truly, I mean, everyone's creative, but truly the songwriters, like the music writers, like without them, you're really fucked. And so you can even have half the band the same, but if you lost your songwriter or your lead musician, you know, your composer, whatever, you're going to be different. This is why I just think studios shouldn't necessarily, especially AAA studios, be permanent. I just don't believe that.
Sure. Especially if it doesn't work for you guys. They got to do something because they're in big trouble over there.
There's just something, I keep banging the drum, but there's something so appealing about the idea of having a pool of people to pull from on a project by project basis. It seems like that's the best way to be creative, is to not be like, oh, we're all stuck together, even though this project didn't necessarily work, or we don't necessarily have the funding and everything. It's like, no, like the cream should rise to the top. This is how movies and TV shows are made. And I know it's different because it's so much lengthier of time, but in fact, like I look at that as just being more secure. It's like, if you're a grip in Hollywood, what are you working on? Half dozen projects a year, something like that. And you have to keep looking for work. If you're working on a game, even if it's a game by game basis, you might have 4 years before you have to worry about anything. To me, it seems like a much better situation for every step of the pipeline.
Sure.
But what do I know? I mean, I think you would get better products and you would get new things. And if you wanted to continue to make sequels, you would make them more in the moment.
Yeah.
But Mass Effect should have always been a trilogy. It ended. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm most curious about, is just what they're going to do. Because it's like, I don't know what you're going to do. So let's see.
Yeah, we shall see. Probably not for a while, though.
Even if it's a prequel, which would be cool, we already know what happened. Like, there was it wasn't like, oh, the bad guys lost and the good guys won. It's like, no, it's over. So it's different. To even do a prequel would be difficult, I think. Yeah. It would be interesting.
But we'll see, I guess. All right. So for me, my sort out is just to the Spider-Man 2 port on PC. Very bad. Been hearing a lot of bad things about it that Sony put out. Put this port out with like, I didn't even know it came out. It felt like it wasn't a big deal at all. For one of your like biggest games. Very strange and the port is just in not good shape. Mixed on Steam right now. Kind of a shame. Should do better than that with your ports, your PC ports.
I don't get it. We were saying this on the show, is like, first of all, why are you married to that release date? Yeah, if the game is not working, just delay it. No, who cares? I mean, this is not PS5. It's not your bread and butter. Make sure it gets right. And second of all, it's like, I thought Nix's was good. So what happened here? They did good. They seem to be the best purchase that has been made by Sony in years.
They probably just didn't have enough time, honestly. That's what I think.
It's like, what is the rush? What is the rush?
They did Horizon, right? The 1 remaster or whatever.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to look up their whole thing.
It's like, it's like, why did you need to get Spider-Man out right now?
Yeah, they did 2021 Zero Dawn Complete Edition, the ports of Spider-Man and Miles, the port of Rift Apart, the port of Forbidden West, the port of Ghost of Tsushima. And then the more recent Zero Dawn remaster, which is the PS5 PC port. So that's the second time Zero Dawn came to PC. And then, now it's Spider-Man 2 and The Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
Yeah, it's like...
That's why something went wrong. I don't know.
Something went wrong. I think they were just rushed, probably, honestly. They clearly didn't get the attention it needed. So you guys got to fix that shit. That's the one thing about playing on PC, man. You can have some of the best equipment, but there's so many variables that can go wrong. It feels like just could be flip of a coin. You don't know what could happen. That's why I usually always wait to see how PC versions are before I'd buy one.
I'm surprised they don't have Nix's working on a God of War online game.
Oh my God, dude. Please. Let's not talk about that. Let's not do that, guys. What a bunch of fucking idiots, dude. God. Nice going, PlayStation. Dumbass.
They're still doing great, which is so crazy. It's the craziest part.
Are.
It's the craziest part. It's the craziest part. Is that they seem to be better than fine. You could just imagine how much better it would have been. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, it could have been so much better. All right. This write-in is from Hashim Barakat. Good day, Summon Boys. I want to give a huge sorted out to Sony in the PSN store. Yesterday, I found on the games to wishlist tab a game called Perpetual Mouthwashing, an obviously low-effort ripoff on mouthwashing and a lawsuit waiting to happen. How long will the store be limited with asset flips, AI slop games, and plagiarism? And do you think the new leadership will do anything about this? Thank you for the amazing content as always, and wish you all a great week.
They don't care.
So, yeah, they don't care, unfortunately.
They're not going to be made to care.
By the way, man, it is literally just like a character from mouthwashing that they have on like the banner thing. It's insane.
When I saw that, that game, that Horizon ripoff that some Chinese company is making.
Yeah.
When they were like, it's coming to PlayStation, I was like, okay. I mean, clearly Sony doesn't give a shit because this is their own stuff now. Like you certainly can't blame them for turning the other eye or, turning their cheek for these games that aren't theirs and then getting mad about their own games. They just don't seem to give a shit. Because that game is such a blatant Horizon ripoff that I can't even believe it. I can't even fucking believe how shameless it is. And they don't care. So why are they going to care about this? They just don't give a shit. This is the major thing I would love to know more about from them, but I don't. And
maybe they're just afraid of missing out on the next big thing.
The next big thing is not going to be some asset flip with a fucking AI generated thumbnail. It's like I said, the week we released Tribreaker, there were almost 30 other games. This is in the middle of December and it's trash.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll defend our games against this shit any day of the week. We're talking about totally different shit. Blatant, ridiculous trophy hunting games, cheap garbage, stuff that was turned around in days, stuff that doesn't even function, stuff that's not going to be bought by anyone. People are tired of hearing me talk about it because it is a big problem, and it's not endemic to just PlayStation. It's everywhere. It's the worst on Steam. That might be the place where it's most logical, but as I understand, it's really bad on Switch. So,
I'm sure. Yeah.
These I don't know. No one can explain to me why they don't care, because I'm of the mind that caring helps everyone. I think they would make more money with fewer games, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If you're selling a game for $10 and you're selling 100 copies of it, you're making $300. It's like, is it really worth it? Or you could just remove that block from the store. Everything gets bumped up one. Now imagine if you do that thousands of times until the games that really belong there of all types are there. It's a shame, dude. So yeah, of course. I mean, they're only going to get more bold until someone does something about it, but no one's going to do anything about it.
Wild times, man.
You should see some of this box art. It's like I'm not into this stuff at all, but it's like that's so clearly AI. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Why are you allowing this?
I don't know. All right, this is from Connor McCurry. Hey, Breaking Bad and Coleslaw Colin. Coleslaw Colin.
I don't know what that means, but that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Sorted out gamers. The amount of hate I am seeing for AC Shadows online is just comedic at this point. Seeing the clip of someone playing as Yasuke and destroying some shrine and people actually being upset about it is just so forced and tiring to see. I understand being skeptical about the game, but this is just insane now. When will this discourse end? Connor, the discourse never ends, by the way. It never ends. Are people destroying a shrine in Assassin's Creed? People are getting upset about it?
No one's upset about it.
Is anyone actually upset about that?
Yeah, no one's really upset about it. It's just all performative. This is the anti-woke stuff is becoming the mirror image of the woke movement. And I don't I've said before, I've said it loudly, a lot of people don't like it, but it's like, I do think it's weird that character is the first character you basically explore in an Assassin's Creed game. I do believe that comes from purple hair in the writer's room. I do believe that you're trying to make a point doing that. I do believe those things. I do.
Sure.
100%. I think it's insane that you set a game for the first time in Japan and don't explore like a Japanese story, that your first instinct is to find the only black person in feudal Japan and tell a story about him the first time you go to Japan. Yeah, that's weird. Sorry. Like, that's my opinion. Take it or leave it. I totally get it. But the idea that like the game needs to deserve to be this beat up about all things, it's like I said, it's performative, it's unserious, and ultimately the arbiters of the success of this game or the failure of the game will be the people who buy it or don't. The discourse about this game is never going to end. I think the discourse, again, is somewhat deserved for the purpose in which they went in the direction they did creatively, but it doesn't bring the entire package into account in terms of like, oh, everything's wrong. I saw someone say, like, I saw circulating an image. So there are like watermelons in a shot, and then there are cherry blossom trees in a shot. Mm-hmm. And someone's like, they would never be. They're not in the same season or whatever. I'm like, shut up. Who cares? Like, this is like, this is like what you're getting mad about. Let's focus. This is what I keep saying. Focus. Just focus on the one or two things that really are wrong or weird or deserve to be ridiculed or questioned. But you're diluting your message and making it less serious when you get focused about, when you're so upset rather about everything about the game. It can't all be wrong. Like, even the worst things aren't all wrong. When I was talking about Phantom Fury before, which is not a good game, it's not all wrong. Right. I highly doubt a game that costs hundreds of millions of dollars like this is going to be all wrong. So give it I don't want to say give it a chance. Do what you want. I don't care. I'm not going to play it either way. People could say it's the best Assassin's Creed game ever, and I still wouldn't play it. So I'm not going to sit here and judge it like a fan of the series, but like let the players decide and stop trying to steer the ship in this pre-release. People are emboldened right now. I think a lot of it has to do with Dragon Age, or at least some of it does. But I don't think people realize that Dragon Age didn't sell well because it sucks. It's the same thing with, I've been saying about Concord. It's like Concord's wokeness is blatant, but it didn't do well because it sucks. Right? Like, good things do well. Great games typically, not always, but in the AAA space, certainly rise to the top. There's no need to like fight the fight because eventually it'll all be known. There's just too much pre-release influence. Sure.
But with Dragon Age Veilguard, it's interesting because it has a 82 on Metacritic. That's pretty good. That's not a bad game.
No, you're right. Certainly looks bad to me.
Well. Yeah.
I can see why people are not interested in it.
I have no interest in it. I have no interest in playing it.
I don't, obviously everyone knows I don't like scoring. I don't really, but Metacritic scores are a useful barometer, I suppose, but I'm not even really sure how many people give a shit. There are so many games where I've played where I'm like, this is a great example was that RoboCop game that came out a couple of years ago. Where I was like, this game's kind of dope. And people were somewhat hard on it, but I'm like, it's a fucking A-level cheap shooter. Yeah. I have so much to say about Metacritic, but it's like I just don't take most of the people there very seriously, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. It's
who
like,
the fuck are half these outlets?
Yeah, it's like, well, I see Eurogamer gives it 100. It's like, that's your right to do it, but it's like 100?
Yeah, doubt. But I also feel like I don't know if I've said this on this show before, but there's like this circular thing that really bothers me where you go onto a Metacritic, you look at like the Metacritic reviewers, you see this outlet that you've never heard of in your entire life, give it whatever. You go to the outlet's website, it's garbage. You go to the outlet's Twitter account, the Twitter account says that it's a Metacritic critic. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what is this? Who are you?
Like,
why are you involved in this?
Yeah, it's like, how do you get classified for that? Like, when I was at Easy Allies, we were on Metacritic, and I don't know how we got on there. I'm not sure. I didn't deal with any of that stuff, but it's like, who is like the arbiter letting people in?
It's a great question. I've never tried. We don't score things, so I don't want to be on it anyway. Just because I remember when I was at IGN when we bought One Up had a really hard time with interfacing with Metacritic because they would give letter scores and they would get baked in as these weird numbers, and it's like, that's not really what the number is. And it's just,
that's what happened to us. And we used to do stars, and that stuff would happen to us. So we just moved to like scores.
Right. And it sucks that you moved. Like, you had to feel like you had to serve the aggregate, which is not good. I mean, it's not a good thing in my opinion. So yeah, I look at these people and I'm like, so yeah, I got an 82 on Metacritic. So what? I mean, it's an interesting stat. We like to bet on those kinds of things, but at the same time, I feel like my the way I would score things if I was still a critic and that did those kinds of things, I think would be radically different from the way other people did. So
Sure.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't even know who the hell half these scores are. And then you have scores like IGN that get counted many times more than most other scores, which a lot of people don't realize. Weird. It's not an average.
Yeah.
It's like some arcane, weird math equation.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't miss giving review scores. I like not having to do that. It's very nice.
I'll be honest with you, dude. I knew what I was giving 95% of the games I reviewed. I knew what I was giving it in the first hour.
Sure. I could see that.
I didn't know what I was going to say about it, but I was like, yeah, it's like an 8.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah. You can get that feeling. Yeah. Absolutely. I totally get that. All right. This is from Carlos Torres. Hey guys, my story out is quick. Where the hell are the trilogy bundles of Gears of War and Fable on PC? I haven't been able to play them since before my 360 got the Red Ring of Death in 2011. To Xbox credit, they are playable on current gen Xbox consoles with frame boost, and that's a lot more than I can say about my beloved Resistance trilogy. Ouch.
You can play Resistance on current consoles. You're just going to be streaming them.
Yeah,
but yeah, and it's not good. They're playing on some PS3 farm somewhere. I'm sure it's great. Yeah, I'm excited about this Gears to PlayStation rumor, which seems the rumors suggest that the Gears of War trilogy will be announced for all platforms, which is exciting. And Fable apparently might be a day one release on PS5 as well, which wouldn't surprise me. That's according to rumors. I don't have connections with Xbox, so I just
heard that as well. Yeah, stuff like that.
I'm a little confused. I'm more confused with Sony's cadence of releasing games because in terms of legacy stuff, because it's not playable, as opposed to what I always say about Nintendo. It's like you have this wealth of old games. You really can't release them all at once. You really should take your time and spread it out as much as you can. So a thing like Gears, it's like, yeah, take your time, make it, even release them one at a time or something. You got to milk it a little bit. You don't want all this stuff at the same time. Then it becomes less remarkable, in my opinion. Sure. But I love the first 3 Gears games. I have played them, and Mike is a big fan too. So I think we would actually play those together, because the rumor is that they'll be cross-platform, like play.
Cross-play. That's cool. That's good stuff. I love that in modern gaming. It's so nice. So you haven't played 4 or 5 or Judgment?
No, I played 1, 2, and 3. I actually did play some of 4 because we did a stream for it on Kind of Funny. Might have even been. Is there a 5? Yeah, there is. Yeah, so it was 4. It must have been 4. Maybe 2015, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
2016.
Around there.
So I played probably a third of it, but I don't really remember it. And we did it for like a paid stream. But but the other 3, I did play. The first Gears of War game is really short.
Yeah, it is.
It's like 4 hours or 5 hours long, I think. And then,
a short game.
So I'm looking forward to that. I love third person shooters. Those are kind of, I don't want to say the pinnacle of third person shooting, because I still think the pinnacle of third person shooting is like Vanquish and that old game Kill Switch. You remember that game on PS2?
Yes, I do remember that game. Yeah.
Which is a very influential game on third person shooters. But it's up there for sure. It's a very spongy game if you're into that sort of thing. Enemies take so much damage.
And feels good.
Yeah.
They have good impact and all that stuff. It's really important.
I love the active reload. Nice little. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they invented that. I could be wrong.
Yeah. That's like the first time I can recall it.
And I really think that's a really, really great idea. Yeah. Just a little thing that goes a long way.
Yeah. But it is kind of sad it's not on PC, those games, especially with Xbox taking such a huge initiative with PC gaming.
Yeah, that's strange.
Kind of strange.
I've never played the Fable games.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
I don't think they never looked very good to me.
I don't know if you would like them.
They're like a little too, even in the Lionhead days, it was like, like it's a little too colorful. It's a little too whimsical. It's a little too weird.
It's whimsical in a lot of ways.
And people would be like, oh, you would have played it on PlayStation. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I mean, to this day, it's funny because we got all these announcements and these games coming from Xbox, and it's like, I've still only played one of them because I don't really want to play any other ones that have come out so far. I'm not going to play Forza. So
what did you play?
I played Pentiment.
Oh, right. You didn't play Hi-Fi Rush?
I bought it to show support, but I didn't play it, and I'm not going to.
Okay.
I mean, it's just I'm never going to get to it. But yeah, I wanted to kind of be like, more.
Yeah.
But the others I didn't buy. And Forza I don't give a shit about either. I'll buy Doom. I'm not going to play the Outer Worlds. I'll buy.
What about
Halo,
South of Midnight?
And Gears.
Would you play South of Midnight?
I don't think so. No, it doesn't look very good. I am curious to see what people think about it. I don't think I'd play Avowed either.
Sure.
I don't think I'm going to play Starfield. So like, really, a lot of these games just aren't aimed at me, but Doom, I'll play Doom, of course.
Yeah, for sure, Doom.
Woke
All
Doom.
right, cool. Woke Doom, that's right.
I saw someone say, we were making fun of it on the show because people were saying that the controls were woke or whatever. Because there's like, there's sliders in it now.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's like, what are we even talking about anymore?
Don't fuck with the sliders. All righty. Now it's time for Keep It Up. The exact opposite of Sorted Out. Stuff we're enjoying. Stuff we're pleased with in the game industry. Colin, what do you got this week?
I was going to say, keep it up, people that don't spend money on games, because I feel like the value that, and we've talked about this in the past, the value of the amount of games people are getting for such a little amount of money is so impressive that why wouldn't you take full advantage of it and ratchet up the pressure on companies almost to not do this? Because if you wait, you get the game cheaper, you get it better, higher quality, often DLC or expansions available, patches, maybe better ideas of how to play a game or how to do something in it, trophy guides. I don't know. It's so interesting looking, as I do often at the store, and look at the sales. And I've tried to really stop myself from buying things on sale. Not for any other reason than I just feel like I'm buying things that I will not play. In other words, I feel like though I'm getting like I'm getting things for cheap and I'm wasting money anyway. Like wow, I got this thing for $10 that I'm not going to play and would have never bought. So I just wasted $10. It's like, okay, so got to really control yourself. And I know people really struggle with this on Steam, where the sales are quite plentiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I've definitely been infected with it on PSN in the past. And so I've stopped doing that, with rare exception. So I talked recently about how I bought the Mass Effect trilogy for $5. It's like, oh, okay. And then people reminded me, I jumped the gun because I probably owned it on PS Plus already. So that was $5 I didn't need to spend, immediately learning my lesson. Yeah. But I'm always so impressed by, if you follow that Wario 64 guy, it's like, damn, dude. Especially for physical games, if you're into that, but digital games too. It's like, geez, this is a lot of.
Yeah.
I continue to be fascinated by gaming on a budget and how easy it must be to do that, actually, if you're just patient. And so keep it up to the wallet pinchers out there. I think it's a really interesting way to interface with the industry, especially if you're not super in it, where you just have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of games. Why would you ever pay full price for anything ever again? So very impressive way to go about things. It's not the way I play, but, and I feel like someone's got to foot the bill. There has to be people like me or you or others that are buying thousands of dollars of games a year.
Yeah.
We are the whales of the traditional media, no doubt, or the traditional medium. But yeah, man, it's just so impressive. It's really cool. And I look around and I'm like, damn, dude, you could. And I've said this to you before, Brad. It's like, it would be cool to just do a show where you have $200. Can you get through the entire year on $200? You could probably do it very easily.
Probably easier than most people think. Probably a lot of stuff, especially if you play on every platform like I do. There's like, especially like PC stuff. There's a lot of long PC stuff that's cheap. You can definitely get your bang for your buck. I really like that one, Colin. I think that's a really smart thing. Yeah, if you wait, usually nowadays you get the best version of the game,
right?
It's cheaper. Sometimes things going like there's a lot more sales going on than I would have anticipated a few years ago. Like I see sales on PSN all the time. I don't know, Kwanzaa sale or some shit like that. Here's like every game's like 30% off. It's great. And I think Steam definitely is the one that started that. I'm happy other companies are doing it to compete with them. So it's a wonderful time to be a gamer. There's so much good shit to buy for really reasonable prices, man. It's incredible. I love it.
Someone asked on Sacred last week, like, what is the golden era of games? And I'm like, now.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
I know that a lot of people aren't impressed with all of the newer games or whatever, but we are just so stacked up at this point, and you are simply not playing or able to play anything comparable to what is coming out. That now is the golden era of game, comparable to time, comparable to money spent, the power of the machines, the quality of the games,
the access of these games, like especially with indie developers and everything being so big part of the industry now. It's like you can find probably a quality game for any genre you're into. It's not like the old days where it's just like, well, you're shit out of luck if you like this type of game. PC Indie games, they fill that space, man. Tactical role-playing games, anything, like anything you could think of. It's all there. So, and you can play the old games of the past. I definitely agree. We are in like the peak of gaming right now.
They could stop making games forever.
Yeah, it's like I'm never going to catch up.
Nope.
Never can.
Nope. I look at the games that I'm even playing this year, and maybe this is a sign of what's coming out this year, but so far that would interest me or not, but not really. It's like this year I've played Doom Eternal, Silent Hill 2 Remake, Vengeful Guardian Moonrider, Trepang 2, Mafia 2, Arizona Sunshine, Civilization 6, and Phantom Fury. None of these games came out in even last year except for Silent Hill. So it's like, maybe that's me, but this is what I'm saying is I could just go into these seams and never come out.
Yeah.
Ever.
Like I could easily play games all year that aren't from this year. Easily. I'd be totally fine. Like I'm looking at the games I've completed this year, and out of 7 of them, 3 of them are Mega Man games. It's just like, I got tons of stuff I can play and replay. And we're going to talk about an old game that I'm playing again later on. But
I did buy Freedom Wars, which is not a game from this year, but
I know that game has a special place in your heart, though.
That one?
Yeah, Freedom Wars.
Yeah, it does. It was one of my last reviews at IGN too.
Yeah.
But I bought it to show support. I don't know that I'm going to play it anytime soon. I just was.
Sure.
It doesn't seem like anyone's playing it, but so I did buy a game that came out this year, but haven't played one yet. I don't think.
Yeah, there's just nothing you want to play yet.
Even Civ 7, like in spending time with Civ 6 again, I'm like, I have so much to crack here. I don't even need to move on. Like I don't even really know what I'm doing. You know?
Yeah.
I was so annoyed because I played a 500 turn game and I got I was doing really well, and I was like beating the shit out of this other guy on my continent, and I wasn't really paying attention to the other win conditions, and then I got beaten randomly.
Oh no.
And I was like, you motherfuckers. I got beat like culturally or something. I'm like, what a garbage. I'm destroying this person.
Dude. Yeah, it's so
I
funny.
have bombers. It's like 1880. You know, and I have like these bombers just destroying these cities.
That's awesome.
I'm not paying attention to what the other hand's doing.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming out already this month. I'm going to get Kingdom Come. I'm going to get on PC because I can get it for $50, so I'll take that.
Nice. Yeah, Mike is excited about it.
Yeah, I know. She was really hyping it up to me, and Lockmore, of course, hyping it up. And I'm going to skip probably Yakuza because I just finished Infinite Wealth, and it looks awesome. I'm going to play it later this year, but like right now, probably take a little break. Avowed will just Game Pass. I don't need to buy that. It's fine. And I'll buy Monster Hunter, though, because I love Monster Hunter. So I'm very stoked for that.
Yeah, what are the upcoming? Let me go to Push Square here.
Yeah, let's get the list.
Do they have a thing, games? Do they have a thing where it's like popularity? Really? All right, this isn't working for me. Let's see. Upcoming. Can't type.
Game Rant. They have like a decent list.
Let's see here. That's a PlayStation list. I don't want to hear from you. Upcoming PS5 games, IGN. Let's see. All right. Yeah, Kingdom Come. Tomb Raider 4, 5, and 6. I don't want to play those, but I know that some people are going to play that or enjoy those. Yeah, Pirate Yakuza. Oh, Croc. I don't know about that. What else? Yeah, it's a lot of random. Yeah, it's not looking super strong.
Yeah, next month might be a little better for you. You're going to play Suikoden 1 and 2, are you?
I'll buy it. I don't know if I'm going to play them right away.
Okay. Trying to think.
I want to show Konami some love. Yeah, I'm looking even at like, because I'm looking forward to like Doom, Death Stranding, Borderlands,
that's not till like
Mafia.
May though.
But I don't think
Doom's not till May.
Right.
It comes out my birthday. Actually, I'm stoked about that.
Cool.
That's a good birthday game. Yeah, and like Mafia, that's probably not till fall. And
Claire Obscura comes out in the coming months. I'll play that.
Oh, you're right. I'm going to play that too. That looks cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Ghost will be
sometime.
Good. Yeah,
hopefully
Lunar.
Fall.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a good time for me to catch up.
Yeah, really good time for you, man. Awesome. I wonder when Indie's going to come out then. If it's spring.
Yeah, maybe May.
Yeah, sure.
I'll play that too.
Would they put it next to Doom or by Doom? I guess they would.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, Doom's May, right? So yeah, maybe June or maybe earlier.
April, yeah.
I feel like you would date it by now, but maybe not. They might want to date it late to kind of drive more people to Game Pass and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
as much as they can.
True.
Maximize that.
Cool. Keep it up for me is just Warhorse Studios, Kingdom Come. It's coming out tomorrow. The embargo is over. The reviews are out. Scoring very well so far.
Yeah, I believe
it looks awesome. Everything about it looks really cool. I can't wait to play it. It's gonna be fun playing like a game in that setting that's more based in reality and not fantasy or something. Like I love fantasy shit. I know you guys make fun of fantasy slop all the time, but I love that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, I could do the same thing with sci-fi.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking Tyrians.
Some people get offended by it. I'm like, dude, I'm making fun. You make fun of me. I don't mind.
Shit. Yeah, people get way too upset about shit. It's
Ooh,
funny.
Ice magic.
Yeah, you can make fun of anything. Anything's on the board, dude. Ice magic is really funny. Lightning bolt. But yeah, congrats, Warhorse Studio. It looks great. I can't wait to play it. I'll be checking it out tomorrow when it's out. All right, let's hear from the audience about this. This is from Cursed Kamza. Hello, gents. I have a keep it up for the developer Red Barrels. My fiance and I have been addicted to the Outlast Trials, and like other extraction co-op games such as Helldivers 2 and Deep Rock Galactic, it's a shining example of a live service game done right. All the catalogs, parentheses battle passes, can be unlocked for free simply by playing the game, and major content updates such as new trials, maps, and enemies are released for free. On top of that, it's a blast to play, and we spent many a night screaming and giggling as we run for our lives from a giant naked lunatic. The game has a small, loyal fan base, so I want to make sure the studio gets a wee shout out here. They deserve it. Thanks for all the great content, and remember, Dr. Easterman is watching. I've heard good things about this game.
Yeah, I don't even know that I know this particular... I played the first Outlast. It was an early PS4 game. Outlast... Trials.
Yeah, it's a multiplayer game.
Come out March 20th
last year.
Yeah, March last year. So not even a year ago. Yeah, I played Outlast 1 and I liked it. It was the one with the camera and you had to manage the batteries in it, which was kind of cool. I feel like someone from that studio said or did something mean to me at some point. I probably kind of turned them out of my head, but I don't know for sure. It didn't. I don't know. What else did they made a sequel to Outlast, right? 2?
Yeah.
Outlast. Yeah, Outlast, Whistleblower, Outlast 2. Yeah, I never played that. And then Outlast Trials. It has very positive reviews. It has a lot of reviews, 51,000 reviews on Steam. That indicates it sold more than 1 million copies probably. So good for them.
Yeah, good for them. All right. This is from Jacob Allen. Keep it up to Colin/Lily Mo Games. I recently beat Spider-Man 2. I've been looking for a less intensive video game experience after all the button mashing. So I gave Twin Breaker and Tribreaker a shot. I thought both were fun and reminded me of built-in PC games from the 90s. I also enjoyed seeing the Last Stand Media logo and several other Colinisms sprinkled throughout. Excited for what comes next from Lily Mo Games. Also, Brad rocks and is a fantastic addition to the crew.
All right, that's enough. Brad's been here for more than a year.
I know, I've been here for over a year, guys. You don't have to keep... I mean, I appreciate it, but...
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. All right, and this is from Lizard. This isn't game-related, but it could be. Keep it up, PP to good marketing. PP?
Yeah, I think it meant keep it up, and he just wrote PP.
Well, that's even funnier.
Keep it PP. I will.
More specifically, the Severance pop-up and Grand Central. I love Severance. I've been dying to talk to someone about it. And this marketing tactic got my brothers involved and hooked. The game industry could learn a thing or two. Do you know anything about this, Colin?
Yeah, I watched the first season of Severance. It's a rare show that I actually watch. And I really liked it. So then I saw that, you saw it too. I assume it's like it was like a marketing thing. Oh, you didn't? No. So they did like a marketing thing where they, in Grand Central Station, where they just created one of the office cubicles or a series of cubicles from Severance, put it in like a box, and then the actors were actually in the box, like acting.
Whoa.
And people could just walk around and watch or whatever. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was really a really neat, I like what Apple's doing with Apple. I don't have it all the time. I usually don't have it, but the Apple TV stuff, I'm going to get it when Severance is up. I don't like doing the week by week thing. It's annoying. Sure. I just like watching it in a few days and just being done. But I like that they are a less is more kind of thing, that it's cheap to get comparable to other platforms. There isn't as much choice, but it's of a higher general quality, it seems like, and they take it more seriously. And it doesn't really seem like they're even making any money on it. So it's done out of some obligation to the art, as opposed to making more money, and we'll see how long maybe even Apple TV or whatever, or Apple Plus, whatever the fuck it's called, lasts. But I really like what they're doing over there. They have a few cool shows. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the second season of Severance. Severance is a great
I know, I've heard great things about it. I don't know anything about it, but I do want to watch it. And I actually don't want to know anything about it. I just kind of want to go in blind.
Yeah, you should. I will say it's a totally novel idea that I have never heard of before. Like the concept of it is definitely not something you've ever heard of. I don't think. That
sounds cool. I like that. The idea of video games doing this is really funny to me. And I immediately just thought of Abby beating Joel to death with a golf club in the middle of Grand Central Station. And I was like,
that'd be good shit.
You could do that. Yeah. Dude, Last of Us Part 3, do some shit like that. Have Abby stabbing someone in the neck, or Ellie with playing a Vita. Yeah. That'd be great.
What did I just do?
All right. What'd you do?
There we go. Sorry. I went to hit escape or backspace, and I hit print screen or F12 or something, and I accidentally
okay.
Closed everything. There we go. Okay.
Safe. All right. Give me one example you think of a game advertisement like that. That would be good in that situation. Grand Central Station, advertising a game. What would you do?
I don't know why this came to mind, but like a Resident Evil save room.
Oh,
where like someone's all bloodied in there, and the typewriter, and they're just resting, and you got some accoutrements
after getting bit by the snake.
Yeah, something cool, like something artsy.
Yeah. Okay.
Not kinetic.
Maybe they should just have a guy dressed as Mr. X walking around Grand Central and just fucking bumping into people or something like that. That'd be awesome. Some like 8-foot guy.
Someone's gonna get shot.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Colin, Arizona Sunshine Remake. This is a VR game, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I don't know anything about it. Talk to me.
So it's from it's funny, game that came out quite a while ago, and I looked it up. It was it came to PSVR in December of 2016. And so it's an early PSVR game, and then it got ported it was remade in some sense to PSVR 2. So on Sacred, I've been trying to talk to the audience about VR better and trying to be a little bit more open-minded to it. Because I bought PSVR when it came out, and I actually ended up throwing it away like a couple of years ago because it was like something about it broke. It like wouldn't work anymore. I was actually trying to play it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, fuck this thing. I threw it in the garbage. And then when PSVR 2 came out, was announced, I bought it. I played Horizon for a little bit, and then I literally never turned it on one time after the first day. And
Horizon was not a good launch game for that.
No, I was saying to someone recently, it felt like a glamorized Link's crossbow training.
Yeah,
in some sense,
it's like more
which
like
was fun. I like Link's crossbow training. It's a compliment to Link's crossbow training, I guess. But so after that, I just wasn't. It had that stupid. Remember that stupid fucking gun thing that you can buy with Link's crossbow training? It came in that long box. That was when I was still a Nintendo
grudge against that thing because they canceled Twilight Princess sequel and instead made that game.
Yeah,
so nice. I'm like, cool. Thanks, Nintendo.
Nice.
Fucking dicks.
That was one of the last things I bought for Nintendo or for Switch or for Wii, I think.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was like, yeah, this is cool. I bought it. It'll be here. I'll get to it. And then the years kind of passed because that was in the spring of 23, and time passes. We're almost 2 years to the month of when PSVR came out. I'm like, I've really not played this thing. So I moved it downstairs, first of all, from let's see. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was telling Brad that I'm dealing with like an accounting thing for one of our 1099s right now, which is important for one of our people. So I'm getting emails about it. I'm sorry to be distracted by it. Just make sure everything's on track.
You can check it if you need to.
Oh, no, it's cool. I just saw it on my watch, like just the beginning of my watch. I'm like, good. God, it's so annoying owning a business. I'm telling you, it's fucking the most annoying thing in the world. They just make it so hard. Why does it have to be so hard?
I know.
It doesn't have to be so hard. So anyway, I wanted to be more open-minded to this thing. I already own it. And I had it here. If you go down the hallway behind me, it's like, some more bedrooms and then like a loft. And that's where we have another TV and like some game system set up. And that's where I had the VR set up. And I think we just never play up there. We're never up there. We're always just downstairs. So I was like, I got to get this thing more in front of me. So I brought it downstairs to the living room. And then I was like, what do I want to play? And I've always been interested by this game, Arizona Sunshine, which comes from this studio Vertigo. And they made a sequel more recently. And these are pretty popular games. the rare, I guess, success story or the successful studio, like a AAA level studio in the VR space. So what it really is it's a glamorized light gun game where you're able to move around these maps, and it takes place in Arizona. So it's like a Southwest theme, deserty, cactuses, dry air, and then these zombies, and you have various guns, and you're basically just using your sense controllers to shoot and reload and search around. Now, the major thing that I've been talking about on the show, Brad, and since you're not aware of this game, you probably haven't heard us talk about it, is that I have experience with this game for the first time, VR making me sick. And I've been trying to work around it, and it's been difficult. Apparently, if you just kind of continue to raw dog it, you'll get it at some point. What I was puzzled by, as I was saying on Sacred Symbols, was I've played VR many times and I've never had this problem, but I'm realizing that I've never played a game like this where you're moving around as if it's a first person shooter. And so all of the things that you turn on the game and the controls suck because you want to move around and you want to look around and you want to just move seamlessly. And that's the way I made it. Even though the game tells you not to play like that at first, it's like, if you're not a VR player, you really shouldn't do this. And so like there are things like, blurring the sides of the screen, snap movement, and all of the rest. And I started playing like that instead because the first couple times I was playing, I was like, man, I can go about 20 minutes and then I feel like I'm going to puke. And I realized it was like, damn, I didn't know that I was susceptible to this. So then I started trying to play sitting down, and that didn't really make any difference because I wanted it to be an active thing. I like going for my walks. I like exercising and doing all that. I'm like, I'm in this chair all day. Like, I'm not saying I'm like burning calories, but can I just move around a little bit? And so the way that I've tried to play it is to sit down, which is kind of a bummer to begin with, and then snap movement with like blurred sides, so you're not actively moving through the environment, rather you're moving from like point to point, and it really does make it much more like a light gun game. And it works and it's cool and it's fun, but it's like, damn, I really want to play this right. And the problem here is because I've only done 3 stages, because I've played it 5 or 6 times, and I really can only do it for 20 minutes at a time, like 30 minutes at a time. It's just not getting better for me. I haven't played it in a few days, so I really should try it and continue to like acclimate. But the problem is that, and I'm going to continue to play it. But the problem is that if this is what it's going to be, I'm just going to want to play normal games. If I have to like jump through hoops like this is purposeless for me, because I could just play Time Crisis or something. I don't need to play it like in VR necessarily. Right. The bummer though, Brad, is it's really good. The game's fun. It's very straightforward. It looks fun. It's very straightforward. You're moving through these environments, you're shooting zombies, headshots, all the rest. And typically in each place, you're just finding like a key to continue, open a door. Like it's very basic. And I've read some criticism of it that it's almost too hard in some sense, because the checkpoints are really unforgiving in the game, which is annoying. And part of the reason why I'm not way further in the game is because I've replayed entire sections of the game 4 times, because I'm like, I die 20 minutes into a thing. And I'm like, fuck. And then I've used all of my stamina or whatever for this. Right. It's really, really fun though. And what I was saying to Mike, because Mike has been watching me play it a little bit, is it's like, I know this goes without saying, and I remember feeling this way when I first played Oculus many years ago at E3 and PSVR and all the experiences. You understand this intellectually, but it's like, damn, I'm in this space. This is pretty crazy. Yeah. And you could see the seams. Like these spaces are limited. They're small. Frame rate has to be incredibly high, so everything is low res, right? Because you're running it at 60 frames twice. And so it's not impressive really, but when you look around, you're just looking around and searching. And if you can like kind of remove yourself from the texturelessness of it, like, damn, dude, this is fucking awesome. Cool. This is really cool. And so I know that Arizona Sunshine is considered one of kind of the basic games, and that the shooters get way crazier and like way better. But I thought that this was a place I should begin. And I'm almost happy that I did, in the sense that I feel like the crazier, more kinetic, more movement-based games, the more violent games, the more crazy games, it would just be even worse for me. Like I gotta,
it'd be hard.
But this also shows me why I think this doesn't work for a lot of people, because I'm not a motion sick guy. I'm not scared of heights. I'm not one of those people that's like squeamish about those sort of things. Like I really have no example of me being like, oh, that really sets me off where I can't do this. And this is really the first time I've ever encountered that. Roller coasters are fine, Tower of Terror or whatever. It's like none of that bothers me, but this really made me feel queasy. I'm not a person that feels nauseous. Like when I feel nauseous, it's unusual.
Mm-hmm.
Like something's really wrong because that's not the way I operate. So it's a mixed bag if I want to be really generic with it. And it really has nothing to do with the game. It has more to do with me. I would really, dude, if I could play it and feel good, like when I was moving around, like really moving around and playing, I was like, this is crazy. But my body it wasn't cooperative. So I'm hoping it gets better, but I don't.
Do you have food in your stomach when you're playing this usually? Do you play after you eat?
Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I've heard that's a thing. I've also heard using a fan, but this is the point. Like the eating thing's not a big deal, but it's like, all right, guys, if I'm going to have to do all this shit, I'm just going
to. I know.
Come on, man.
It's like, is it even worth it when you have to do that much kind
of stuff? That's the thing. It's like, it's really not. I mean, I certainly wouldn't recommend a $600 PSVR 2 headset or whatever the fuck it cost, $500 for Arizona Sunshine. But if you have it,
yeah,
it's pretty cool. And I just wish it was more. I wish my body cooperated with it more, because I really see the appeal. And it reminds me a little bit of when I went to set up my PSVR a few years ago and realized it was broken, and how kind of crestfallen I was, because I was like, oh, I was kind of actually ready to do this after so much, feet dragging and shit. And then I got there with PSVR 2 where I'm like, yeah, I'm really ready for this. And then I'm playing it and I'm like, yeah, this is sick. Cool. Loving this. So
yeah, as a Alas. But yeah, the game looks really fun, actually. Just shooting some zombies in the desert. Good time.
Yeah, it's nothing more than that.
Yeah, just a good time, arcadey looking game. All right, Colin. I've been feeling nostalgic for this game for a while.
Yeah.
And I wanted to revisit it because I played it when it came out originally. I did enjoy it. But that is Dark Cloud. Published by Sony, owned by PlayStation, developed by Level 5, though.
Indeed.
This is like when Level 5 was killing it for me, the PS2 era. Doing this.
In Rogue Galaxy,
Dragon Quest 8. Yep. They were doing good shit, my friend.
Yeah, they were.
And this is such an interesting game to me, because I remember seeing the box art and I was just like enamored by the font right away. Something about it just really captured my imagination. It reminded me kind of, that game Okage, Shadow King, kind of reminds me of that visually. It's not quite the same, but it just reminds me of it. But anyways, Dark Cloud is an interesting game because it kind of reminds me like at the time, a more modern ActRaiser, Colin, in the sense that you were doing these combat sections, you're going into a dungeon and collecting stuff, but there's also a city building element to it. You're rebuilding these towns. For anyone who doesn't know, you play as this kid named Tone, and your village gets destroyed by this big fat evil genie that looks like Majin Buu. And you go into these dungeons to collect essentially buildings from your town that got sealed away. So you go into like a mini dungeon. They're all very basic so far. Like the first one, you go to later different themed ones, but the first one is kind of like rock, cave, stuff like that. But you go in these areas, kind of hardcore off the bat. You need water. You have a thirst meter, so you have to make sure you're staying hydrated and all that kind of stuff. You have to have items with that. Your weapons break. There's weapon durability, and they break pretty frequently, so you need to keep repair powder with you and stuff like that. Get poisoned pretty often. You got to have an antidote with you. Stuff's like not super cheap right away at the start, so there's a lot going on. Combat's pretty stiff. You can block, but there's no like dodge or anything like that, so you got to just kind of unlock the camera and run around all goofy. It's really funny because it has camera controls where you can use the right stick to move a camera like you'd expect, but it also has the L1, R1, kind of like Mega Man Legends had it, to rotate the camera. So that's very nostalgic for me as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at gameplay of it now, and I'm like, yeah, man, this is a very nostalgic game for me too. This is a great game. It was cool to see that you were playing it.
Yeah, it's a cool game. It's on PS4 and PS5. If anyone's curious, it's out there.
Yeah, it's been trophies. On PS4 for a long time.
It has trophies. The sequel is also there as well, which is very good as well. But I have a special place for the first game in my heart, particularly. I think the second one's probably a better game, but I'm more nostalgic for this game. But it's cool because you go in these dungeons and it's really funny. There's quick time events in these dungeons, some of the boss fights, or there's like boss encounters where you do quick time events before God of War kind of brought it back. Of course, Shenmue kind of made these famous and stuff like that, but it was interesting to see this before God of War. And what I like about it is also just the town buildings are really fun because, like, so for instance, you go in there, you get a piece of someone's house, you put the house down, and there's slots to put equipment like on the house. So there's like 3 question marks and maybe like a thing that looks like a sign you could put in there and a lamp. And a lot of these, they also have NPCs you need to get, like the person that owns the house. Like, let's say there's a guy named Carl. It's Carl's house. You get Carl's house, you can put it down, but you got to get Carl as well from one of these items. So then you get Carl in there and you talk to him and he tells you what he wants from his house, and that will unlock new things for you to equip to that house. And they also have requests often for their house. Like, for instance, they're like, I want a spot where I can fish by my house, or I want my house turned a certain way so the sun rises and the light shines upon me when I wake up. And these give you rewards for doing it. So you're kind of incentivized to, you have complete freedom to lay out the town however you want, but if you do certain things, you'll get bonuses for it. And it's just really funny. You get like aside from like buildings, you get stuff like roads that you can put down. You can put down like rivers and streams and bridges over them, trees, all that kind of stuff. You can really make your own town. It really starts to feel nice. It has a nice progression where I'm getting very satisfied every time I go in, do a run, I come back out and seeing my town just slowly build more and more. And it's very nice. I really like it a lot. And as you progress through the game, you play as Tone, of course, and he has swords and you can upgrade them all by leveling up. And it's kind of in depth, the amount of stuff you can do to your weapons, like making sure you can put like slots on it. So, hey, you deal more damage to rock enemies or something like that. Or you can put like elemental things on it. So it'll do wind damage. And you could upgrade those weapons and fuse them with other weapons later to carry all that kind of stuff over. So there's a lot going on there. And also, there's multiple playable characters. The first character you get is like this cat girl. Early on, she has a slingshot. Like Tone has like a sword and dagger he uses. For some, the girl has a slingshot. So all the characters have different weapons, and they can do certain things. Like you need them to reach certain areas. So for instance, when you only have Tone, there's these gaps you have to get across, but you can't get across them. He can't jump across. But the other character you could swap to on the fly at any time. She can jump across that. So that comes into play later on. Because I think there's like 6 or something characters. I'm trying to remember how many you get down the line. But there's quite a few you get to choose from. You can swap between them seamlessly. But you also got to manage all their resources, their water, their weapon durability. So there's a lot to think about. And some of the areas have like bonus rooms you can go to. Like, for instance, there's like a mine cart in some areas, and you need to find like a grease to grease up the wheels to be able to go back there. And you can go to an extra area, and there's harder enemies back there, but better loot. So there's a risk reward kind of going on there. And if you die, you lose some of your money, which is a nice stake that I like. So there are stakes right in there right now, but it's kind of more hardcore than I remembered because it's been a while since I played through it. But I think it's a very charming game, a delightful game. I really like it. If you kind of are into those PS2 era games, I think it's definitely worth checking out. And I miss stuff like this. It really bums me out we haven't gotten Dark Cloud 3 or anything, because it's been since PS2 since Dark Cloud 2 came out, and Sony owns this IP.
Yeah, I don't know if there's, because I guess Rogue Galaxy came out after Dark Cloud 2, and then they moved on to White Knight Chronicles, I think.
Yeah.
So at that point, they were very much with Sony, and Dragon Quest was in there too, like you said. So somewhere along the way, they kind of were with Sony, and then they weren't. And I don't know that there's really, I remember Dark Cloud used to come up at IGN, specifically when we would try to make like PlayStation All-Stars, like fantasy rosters, and put this, what is it, Tone, right? Like you said, in there. It's TOAN, right?
Yeah.
I remember this game came out at the end of my junior year in high school, and it was a game that I played a lot that summer in 2001. Yeah. And it is a really, really fun game. It reminds me of, it's funny calling out ActRaiser, which it is a favorite of mine, and it does have an ActRaiser quality to it, no doubt. It reminds me a little bit of the 1998 Konami game Azure Dreams. I don't know if
I've never played that.
Now, Azure Dreams was a roguelike. I mean, we didn't know it I didn't know
At
that
the
term
time.
then. I don't think I even
Yeah.
knew that term for 15 years after that I played that game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe not that quite long, but maybe 10 years. And that game was all about kind of going into a tower and then coming out and utilizing all of your items and or this town that kind of grows around the tower.
Yeah.
And you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the tower. And it's truly turn-based by movement. So a movement on a block, like a square, an enemy can attack you. So what I remember about it is like if you're dying and like escaping, like enemies are chasing after you block by block, and you can like really get fucked by it if you aren't careful about the geometry of the stage. And so that reminds me a little bit of that. But this Dark Cloud Dark Cloud's not roguelike though, right? Like the dungeons are set dungeons, as I recall.
The layout. I don't know if the dungeons are laid out. I think it might be random.
Is it random? Okay, yeah. So, and you're trying to just get deeper into them by floor, right? Or something like that?
So there's like a door you have to find.
Right.
And you need a key. And to get a key, you have to kill an enemy. A random enemy will drop it.
Right. Yeah, this is, God, I'm fucking old. Because this was 23 and a half years ago I was playing this game. So it's...
I played it too. We're old as shit.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't remember it like too well. I remember the palette of it, like you were saying, and I'm looking at the gameplay now. It is the palette of that cave system, the browns, and all of the rest. That's what I remember about it. And then the menus. I remember the menus being really clean, and seeing in the video, it's like, yeah, they are, and the repair powder and all that kind of stuff. God, that might have been one of my first experiences with destructible weapons ever.
I was trying to think. I'm like, it's the first I think I can recall off the top of my head.
I don't remember hating it. Like I didn't really hate it until Zelda. And then I was like, I can't stand this. So yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, Dark Cloud, cool game. I'm really happy it's available at least to play with trophies, which is really fun. I love that kind of shit. I wish Nintendo did that so bad, man. Like imagine if you could play Link to the Past, Colin, and get trophies or achievements.
That'd be so fun.
Yeah, it'd be so sick. It'd be awesome.
That's too obvious.
I would love them. I know, so they won't do it, those sons of bitches. But yeah, Dark Cloud, cool ass game. It's reasonably priced if you're curious about. The sequel, I think, is a better game, but because they have like crazy shit like mechs and everything like that later on down the line. It has a different art style. I like this art style more of this one. It's a little more cell shaded in two, I think. But still both really good games.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's any ever discussion at Sony about like reviving some of these things, because
I don't know. Well, one of the characters from Dark Cloud 2's in Astrobot.
Yeah, that's true.
There's some sort of recognition, I guess.
I just feel like things kind of fell apart because they did Jeanne d'Arc and then White Knight Chronicles, and then they do that Inazuma 11 game, which I think only recently started really coming out here at all, which is and then they were doing the Layton games. I really love the Professor Layton stuff. And then there was that Megaton Musashi game, which I'm pretty sure we talked about on the show at some point with some guest played it. So I think they're kind of just more obscure now. And I don't even know if they're in, and I want that game Deca Police looks super cool, but that's not coming out until next year.
Right.
So I just wonder where level 5 even is as far as if they're available to do that. And it's not to say Sony needs them to make the game. It's just,
right. I know
you might want them to.
Yeah. I just miss them. I miss level 5 at their peak, in my opinion. They're
a long ways off from that now, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think.
I mean, they're probably bigger than ever because Yokai Watch is huge and all that, but not the level 5 we would want.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure Dark Cloud was their first game. So.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. All right, let's see. This is from Card Captor Corey. Hi, Brad. Dark Cloud is one of my most nostalgic games ever. I've beaten the game 4 times and owned the Platinum Trophy for this game. I like that. Owned the Platinum Trophy. I don't know why Sony abandoned this IP. Having a deeper Georama system and quests, along with more polished combat, would make an amazing game today. With Sony having talked about bringing old IP back, should they contact Level 5 and have them do a remake of the original Dark Cloud? I mean,
remake would be interesting.
A remake would be interesting. I think you could just do a reboot, honestly, if you bring it back. I don't think you need to put a 3 on it, because most people probably won't even matter to them. I think it would just probably hurt the game. You probably should just appeal to a wider demographic right off the bat. But yeah,
I'm wondering, like, I just don't know if there's really demand for, well, two things. It's like, is there demand for this to come back? I don't know. You could kind of create it. Maybe there's some nostalgia for it. It is an early PS2 game when there weren't that many great PS2 games. And I think that's why Dark Cloud, along with Silent Hill, along with Animusha and The Bouncer and a few other games actually stand out, because there were so many games on PS2 early on, but a lot of them weren't great. And Dark Cloud was. And Dark Cloud only came out, 6 months after the console launch. So in the West.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty early game from that regard. But the other thing is so it's not only that, it's like, what do we get out of revisiting or redoing it? It already exists and it's already available to play on the consoles we're on right now. So another thing is like, just play it as it is. I'm sure the combat's pretty stiff. That's what you were saying.
It is. Oh, it is.
But it's a relic of the time. I don't think everything can, of course, reasonably, we cannot update everything for the time. But also, I just don't think that everything needs that kind of treatment. So
no, not everything does. I think there's a lot you could do from a modern perspective now, just with like the tech and the ideas. I think you could probably do a lot to make Dark Cloud 3, whatever it's going to be, stand out. I don't think it'll be like a huge smash hit or anything like that. I think the days are gone for that for these kind of games, but I think you can make something really special if you get the right devs and everything like that. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully one day, for me, it'd be great. All right, this is from Tom Gentry. Greetings to the heads of the two separate branches of the SS. Oh, geez. It's remarkable that you've made it thus far. My write-in is for Brad. I'm so happy to see you're playing Dark Cloud. It's such a fun and cozy game. I admire this game for understanding its scope and honing in on it. I have to know, who is your favorite playable character? I always like Xiao, and I will have her hit attack sound effects etched in my brain for eternity. I want to know, are you following a guide to build your cities, or painstakingly talking to each person to gather their housing preferences and trying to piece together the towns together? I always appreciated the trial and error of seeing if I could make the towns without referencing a guide, but I totally understand why you'd want a guide. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this PS2 classic. I haven't been using a guide. I think it's pretty straightforward or pretty simple early on in the game. I don't remember what later towns get like. So maybe I'll have to. It just depends if I really want to get all the trophies or how long I play this game. I don't know if I'll finish it right now, but it's a game I'm just feeling right now. So we'll see. Favorite characters, I can't remember their names, all of them, but I remember there was this one character who had like a propeller that would spin around above him and he'd kind of like fly around a little bit. He had a gun. I remember he was a really cool guy. Yeah. That was my favorite character at the time, but I don't remember their names at all. All right. Cool. And Colin, last game. Trepang 2. I do know what this is actually.
Yeah,
so it's a big idea.
It's a FPS kind of like a spiritual successor to Fear in some sense. If you guys remember that old game.
Oh yeah, I love Fear 1.
Yeah, I like all three Fear games, to be honest.
I haven't played the other two.
Yeah, the other people don't like them as much, especially the third one, but I like them all. They were different studios. I feel like Day One made the third one, which is kind of weird. That's like a Chicago studio. Right. I bought Trepang 2. It was recommended to me on Sacred Symbols. Someone had recommended a couple of games, and I was like, yeah, all right, I'll take some recommendations. I don't often do that because there's so many games I want to play. But I know this game kind of, I did it. The reason the person wrote in is because I expressed interest in it back in the day, but it was only on PC and it never came to PlayStation. And then it finally did come to PS5, I think, last year. It was launched on PC in the middle of 2023 and fairly well regarded. I'm looking at Steam now. It has over 10,000 reviews and it's very positive.
Nice.
It's like I said, so if you're a Fear fan, Fear 3 came out, 2000? Oh, I don't really remember.
Sounds maybe right.
Let me see. Because the first one was Fear.
It's PS3, right?
Yeah, it was 2011. Yeah, Fear 2 and 3 were both on PS3. And the first one, First Encounter Assault Recon, was 2005. But it didn't come to PS3 until 2007.
Yeah.
So, and I really like those games. So yeah, Monolith was the developer of the first one, which is hysterical. And then, and the second one. And then the third one, was done by Day One. I don't know why I remember that because that's just such a weird team. Because they ended up becoming a wargaming studio, I think. Like World of Tanks guys.
Yeah. Huh.
Anyway, so for people that don't know, Fear is kind of like this supernatural shooter about spirits and ghostly entities and high technologies and kind of the interfacing of the government with these things or whatever. And Trepang 2 is, like I said, a very similar game, definitely inspired, like absolutely inspired by Fear. I mean, I don't know if they admit that or not. I haven't really seen it. The studio's called Trepang. I don't know if they've talked about that, but it would be impossible for me to imagine that the game wasn't deeply inspired by Fear. Right on down to some of the mechanics. There are cool mechanics in the game, so you can toggle between them. Both are on, both will need cooldowns when you use them of varying degrees, but you can go invisible for a while, and you can, which is cool. So you can like sneak up behind enemies, and you can do that, and you can slow down time in somewhat of a bullet time sort of situation. And the bullet time thing is kind of cool because going invisible needs to regenerate by killing enemies, as I recall. It's been a few weeks since I played it, but you have to like. But the other one, the other cooldown is based on like killing enemies and time, so you can kind of stay perpetually in this bullet time mode as long as you are just mowing enemies down at all times, which is kind of cool. So you can kind of balance it all out. The game is budget, and I think that kind of shows. Team 17 published it, but this Trepang Studios team, which I think is Canadian, and I think there's only a few people on the team. I think they outsource a lot of it, but small team, so impressive. But I think a lot of the game, I would imagine, was built with, asset libraries and stuff like that. I don't think that a lot of it was made. Yeah, I think it runs in Unreal. Let me see. Yeah, Unreal 4.
Probably by Unreal packs and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. So I think that there's almost a liminal quality to the game in some sense because it's so budget and generic, but it doesn't really work against the game. Like if you're in a tunnel or you're in these series of industrial tunnels, it's very generic, but there's something kind of spooky about it. There's not like lots of panache and touches all over the place, like a Naughty Dog game or something like that. There is a shit ton of intel in the game if you want to read. And one of the cool things about the game too is that it's somewhat non-linear. There's a hub world, which I fucking hate. We were talking about that with Doom Eternal, and this game has a hub world as well. It's like a staging area, like a base, and you don't do much in it. You can like go to like a firing range and do other stuff. You're basically just going to a map to activate missions as they're presented. And so it's cool because there's like a series of main missions, like 6 or 7, but then there are 5 or 6 side quests at different locations. And so you can kind of go to those and do different things. So a little bit of customization there. You can upgrade all of your weapons, which is kind of cool. And there's a variety of weapons to use as well. The combat is good. I'm not crazy about. I like to be able to aim down sights in games and like have that be kind of automatically possible and all of the rest. Not with every weapon necessarily. You're not going to aim down sights if it's a shotgun or something. But I don't like games where you're really hip shooting a lot. And this is one of those games. And that seems to be unlike Fear. I don't remember Fear being like that. It's been a long time since I played them, but I don't think so. So there's that. And it's incredibly difficult. I don't really mind that. I played it on normal or hard, something like that. But I quickly dissuaded myself of trying to get the platinum because you have to beat the game on the hardest difficulty level, which is apparently like insane. And I was watching videos of it, and it's apparently like not even really it's doable on console, but it's very difficult to execute on console.
Right.
So I experienced that actually with something with Phantom Fury too, where I'm going to get the platinum in that, like I said. But there were a few trophies that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this because it's made for mouse and keyboard. They're mini games usually, like in an arcade. And you have to like do crazy shit in order to cheat, basically, to like, you're not even cheating. You're pausing the game and like repositioning yourself so you can see, like, as you have to shoot different things. And I was following this guide to try to do it. There's kind of a similar feel here where this really does feel like it was made for mouse and keyboard. And I don't play games with mouse and keyboard, but I'm confused why more games on console don't support it. And I feel like you want to maybe try to, elbow people a little bit and be like, you can
nudge them.
Yeah, nudge them, exactly, and do this a little bit. So yeah, it's a good game. It's not super remarkable by any stretch of the imagination. I'm glad I played it. I'm really just a whore for these first person shooters and single player ones especially. And there's some deep story here and all the rest. I was telling Micah it would be funny I have all these ideas I'm never going to execute on, but these games that are kind of obscure with like really deep lore, it would be funny to just make like a 4-hour video that like is the complete explainer of Trepang 2.
Trepang 2.
Like no one is reading these documents. No one's looking into any of this stuff. There's so much of it. It's not like Control or something, but there's a lot of it. And I think it's so funny because it's like, damn, a lot of work went into this.
Yeah.
But I don't know that anyone's really playing for that purpose.
Yeah.
And it teases a sequel, which is cool. I don't know why it's called 2. It is not a sequel. We want to be clear about that. It is not the second game. It's their first game. It's the first game. It's stylized here on Wikipedia as squared, but that makes even less sense. So
okay. Interesting.
I don't know what that's all about.
Trepang 2 is the first. All right.
Yep.
All right. That won't confuse anybody. Cool. Good stuff, though. Yeah, I would like to check this out someday. It looks pretty fun.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good game to just play for a weekend or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. I think I paid 20 or 25 for it.
Yeah.
It's not unreasonable.
No.
That's what a game like this would be worth, but you might want to wait for it to be on sale.
Sure. Yeah, you could probably pick it up on sale for like $20, $15, maybe cheaper. Keep an eye out, everybody. All right. Let's end the show with some write-ins and some questions from the audience. If you want to write into this show, I post a thread every Saturday calling for your submissions. We do this for all of our shows, so if you want to write into any of them, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/laststamemedia, and look out for those threads. Okay, this is from Fan. Hi, Brad and Colin. Seeing it as how Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is now ending its support from developer Rocksteady, where should Rocksteady go from here? What was once a beloved developer for the 7th and 8th generation of consoles is now a shell of its former self, especially since their co-founders left to create 100 Star Studios in 2022. Speaking about Rocksteady in hindsight makes me appreciate that Naughty Dog ultimately didn't release The Last of Us Online, despite my excitement for it, as Naughty Dog could have faced a similar situation that had the game been released. Since Rocksteady laid off a considerable amount of its employees late last year, I think that the British developer should take a safe route and make a 12 to 14-hour Batman game that is the size of Arkham Asylum or Arkham City, and maybe not as something as extensive as Arkham Knight. I know many gamers were disappointed before Spider-Man's 2 release about the game's length, but I fear Rocksteady is in trouble and should churn out a smaller Batman game as soon as possible to prove that it can be profitable to Warner Brother Games. I think they're capable, especially given how beautiful the art style and graphics in Suicide's Kill the Justice League are, despite the bad UI design and apparent repetitive looter-shooter-esque mission structure. What do you think, Brad and Colin?
They are in trouble. I don't know. I don't know what's right. For Rocksteady, it's the same thing. First of all, like you said, the founders are gone.
Yeah.
And they've been gone. Let them make something new. Like it's time. You gotta remake these studios in some sense. If you just keep them tied to these old IP, they're not gonna meet expectations. Mm-hmm. I feel in some way like it's funny because Arkham Knight sold really well, and I liked it. I thought it was good. I wasn't crazy about it.
Yeah,
but people didn't like it that much. Like they liked Arkham City, and I just feel like maybe they were off course longer than we had kind of thought. I think Arkham Knight was cool, but it's the culmination of the series. So they should just move on and make something else. And it would be nice if Rocksteady didn't have to make licensed stuff. It's like everything WB does, or a lot of it, is licensed. And
yeah,
I get it, especially internally. It's like you're licensing Harry Potter at Avalanche Software. Well, WB owns the Harry Potter media license. It's not really a big deal, but it's still like, I'm sure some of these studios would want to do something else, and the expectations are going to crush these teams. They're going to be followed by Suicide Squad forever. So you got to do something different. Like, let them out of the DC prison. Maybe they have some different ideas that they can execute on. So a 14-hour Batman game sounds cool, but I just don't think they should make a Batman game at all. It's time for new Batman games. Just like I as much as I want Christopher Nolan to make more Batman movies, it's like these are kind of generational things. It's time for someone else to make their spin on these things. So I just think continuing to try to go to that well, especially, dude, think about Arkham City is 14 years old.
Oh man, it's crazy.
So it's time to move on.
Yeah, sure.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if they make a new Batman game, cool. I hope it's good. But if they don't, they make something new, I'll check it out. Hopefully it'll be good, but don't do whatever you're doing with Suicide Squad. Whatever headspace you're in this game, no. Don't do it. Don't fall in the footsteps of this game in any way whatsoever. Break free. All right, this is from Matt the Outlaw. Hello, Summon Slags. With the glorious return of Ninja Gaiden this year, do you think we will see a return to more character action games, or will the Souls-like continue to reign supreme? What's that? Lost Soul Aside, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a character action game
It looks like it.
coming up.
Yeah.
I played that game like 6 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Or something.
Yeah.
At PSX. It's still not out, dude.
Been
But it
bouncing
looks
around.
fun. It was fun for what I played of it. But that was a long time ago.
I think Ninja Gaiden feels so refreshing to so many people because it is truly different. And since the industry is so reactionary with what others are doing, if anyone's learning anything from this, then they're just getting things off the ground now. And so who knows? In other words, there would have to be concurrent things in development already that will revive this. That really has nothing to do with Ninja Gaiden, but rather Ninja Gaiden is just the first beneficiary of a new era of those kinds of games. But I think it's funny watching people play Ninja Gaiden Black 2 and kind of discovering it for the first time. And then realizing that not every action game with a sword has to play like a fucking Souls-like.
Right.
And that really these games are more akin to Devil May Cry or something than anything else. So I would like to see more of these kinds of games. I'm sick of the Souls shit. Just because I feel like it's obviously mega popular and they're going to cater to that audience. And I feel like that audience will always exist in large numbers because I think a lot of people enjoy those games. But I feel like it's starting to seep into so many games. And I feel like it seals me off from wanting to play them because I'm just not crazy about them. I'm also not crazy about people throwing around the term when I don't feel like it really fits. Like I still don't really feel like Stellar Blade is a Souls-like game. And a lot of people call it that. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's really not. It's almost immediately evident that it's not.
Yeah, it's more character action game for sure.
Right, exactly. I would agree. So yeah, I hope to see more. I'm excited for Ninja Gaiden 4. I think I will play it, but we'll see how it goes. Shout out to Xbox for making that happen, and Platinum, we'll see if they can deliver. I mean, this is an unusual marriage of Tecmo Koei, an external studio from them, and then a first party publisher that's publishing it everywhere. It's very weird, but
very strange.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys should have played Final Fantasy 16 if you want more action games. All right, because that's a way more action game.
16
pretty much is a character action game.
Yeah,
character action game. So y'all fucked up. All right, this is from Quantum Radish. Hey, Summoners, this one's for Brad. Do you have any plans to play Pokemon White/Black and their sequels? These games have definitely had a positive revisionist history, and in my opinion, are the best in the series. They introduced 156 entirely new Pokemon. You won't find any Pokemon games or Pokemon from old generations until you defeat the Elite Four and the Champion. This makes for an entirely fresh experience. Also, the evil team kind of has a point in this game. They argue it is wrong to trap Pokemon in balls and force them to fight for humans' amusement. There's a lot of story in the game, and it's very compelling. I hope you're planning on experiencing these games at some point. The pixel art is phenomenal in these games. They were last in the series to use it. Hope you have a great week. Thanks for all you're doing to keep the content coming on LSM. Well, Quantum, I've been streaming Pokemon Black, so I have been playing it right now. I'll talk about it on the shows when I finish it, actually, though. It's very good so far. It feels like an ambitious Pokemon game. It feels like Game Freak was really shooting for the stars on what they're presenting. It does look really good. The pixel art looks fantastic in it. And it like makes me lament modern day Game Freak, like Scarlet and Violet, just fucking dog shit games running and looking horrible. It's like they had some ambition back then, it seemed like. So hopefully they can get back to that. But yes, I will talk about this game later on. I'll play the sequel as well when I finish them. But yeah, I'm playing Black right now and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a really good Pokemon game. All right. And the last question or write-in is from Jeremiah. Hey boys, general gaming question for you this episode. Do you ever struggle with grass is greener syndrome with video games? I'm finding lately that because there are so many games I want to play, I struggle to enjoy what I am playing in lieu of the next title. This especially applies to longer games. If you've ever experienced this, what have you done to break out of the cycle? Best wishes to you both. All right, this is an interesting question for us, Colin, because we talk about games for a living. And for me, I feel like there's some sort of obligation that I should keep up to an extent on some things. Of course, we don't have to play. You don't make us play anything we don't want to play, which is cool. But you kind of want to know. You want to talk about what people are interested in talking about. But how do you feel about this? The sense of looking towards the next game when you're in the middle of one already.
Yeah, I don't really experience this problem, to be honest. And if I do occasionally, it's because something very compelling is coming out. But
right,
goes into what we were saying earlier. Generally speaking, I'm kind of just very content with what we have and the products that are being delivered. And I'm immersed in a lot of these games and in really enjoying them in different respects, whether it's immersion in the story and the characters or just being immersed in the gameplay, enjoying the trophy hunt, whatever the case might be. That I kind of try to see. I feel like I actually beat more games than I ever have probably these days, because back when I was a journalist and a critic, you'd beat the games you were reviewing, but you would get so many codes, you would try different things out. It's a little bit of taste of this and a little bit of taste of that, but it's not really the way I like to play games. I like to see things through. It reminds me more of being younger and 100% in games and really extracting maximum value because you had such limited resources and time to access this stuff. So, my feeling is if you have a grass is greener syndrome with a game you're playing, then you're not sufficiently occupied by it. And maybe you should just move on to the game you're thinking of, because it is supposed to be a fun enterprise. You shouldn't be obligated to do anything. You and I, like you said, do have a different obligation. And I do think that there is an obligation to play games. And to me, it's not about playing the newest stuff. That's good. But I want people to just play games.
Right.
People bust balls all the time about the way like Chris plays games where he'll just jump around between a lot of different things and not beat things and stuff. And I'm like, that's okay with me. Like, it's just like, be involved and play. Like the way Chris plays games is almost the way that normal people do play games, based on trophy and achievement, data, where most people are not beating any game. And it's not to say he doesn't beat games. I'm not trying to make fun of him. I'm just saying, like, people bust balls about that, but I'm like, no, that's a valid way to interface with the industry, because it's quite like a lot of people do interface with it, while I'm interfacing with it in the exact opposite way, where I'm getting trophies that 1% of people that play games get. And I'm finding that to be a valid use of time, when really I could be playing more things, but that's what I want to do. And as I was saying earlier, I'm playing all previous year's games right now, but I'm playing. So I just want people to be like involved. Sometimes you have to walk away. I haven't had a break from games in a while, but I'm feeling like good right now. I'm enjoying myself. And yeah, so Jeremiah, if you're struggling to enjoy what you're currently playing, I just maybe feel like you're not playing the right game, or you're not getting the right experience for it. I don't enjoy everything I play, but I just like to see games through. If I'm going to dedicate time to it, it's like, I should see it through. So Godspeed to you, my friend, but I think maybe it's just the games you're playing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're playing a game and maybe a new game's out and everyone's talking about it and you kind of want to be part of the conversation. I get that. But I think if you just focus on what you're doing, you'll have a lot more fun instead of looking to the next thing. Like for instance, I just finished Dragon Quest 3 and it came out a while ago, but I was like, I'm just going to make sure I finish this game, and I'm happy I did. I got a lot more out of it because I did do that. A little too much grinding though. Just say that. But I think it's important to just appreciate what you have right now and be in the moment. Because if you're always looking to the next thing, you're just not going to enjoy what you're doing at the moment. I think it's really healthy to do that. And it's like, you can always play these games later. You can come back, or you can go to them later on. Like, for instance, like I said, the Yakuza game is coming out. I'm probably not going to play it right away, but I'm going to want to play it when it comes out, because everyone's going to be playing it. It looks really fun. But I just know it's not the right time for me to play, and I'll enjoy it less. So you got to be patient, that kind of stuff. And it's like, these games aren't going anywhere. Most of them. Some get deleted like Concord, but for the vast majority of these video games, they're not going anywhere. So you can always get to them later on. So just choose your battles wisely. Not only will you enjoy your time more, your wallet will also thank you, probably.
Yeah, it's an equitable way to do things. And it goes back into what we were saying earlier about getting cheaper games, better games, longer waiting times, where if you just remain in the moment, then those kinds of things accumulate and you can take advantage of that, the cheaper cost, the higher quality game, and so on and so forth. I think there's no downside to it, but people have to interface with the games the way they want to. I'm always surprised by how, I've said it a million times, just how few people are beating games. It's definitely something about the games, but it's definitely something about the way people play games. And I feel like this has always kind of been true. And Dagan and I talk about this all the time. Like, people were lying left, right, and center when they were younger about the games they were playing, the games they were beating. There's really no way to prove it. We all did it.
Yeah.
And I love trophies and achievements for any other reason than just the accountability of it.
Yeah.
It's like
record.
Yeah, it's a record. It's like you can't hide from this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's but that's like very useful to people like us. I can understand why a lot of people just don't give a shit.
Watch out, Nintendo fans. Might happen to you.
No
more lying.
Yeah, you're lying out there. I know you are. Why are you always lying?
You lying scumbags. All right, Colin, that's it. We're done.
Very nice.
Another episode in the books. A very nice, intimate episode with just you and me. I like doing the 2-man episodes every now and then. They're fun. Good stuff. But thank you for joining me. I appreciate it, dude.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. Yeah, like I said, I want to be on the show, once a month or so, once every 3 weeks, and try to be on Constellation more. So I think that's working. People are enjoying that. And so here I am. And thanks for having me. Keep up with your Mega Man stuff. We'll have to talk about 4, 5, 6 and beyond another time. I'll look forward to that.
Yes. That was a lot of fun talking about. So yeah, we'll talk about that more in the future. Everybody listening, watching, thank you guys for the support. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us on every show. We greatly appreciate it. We want you all to have a good day. Play some good games, eat some good food, and rest up, all right? We'll see you next episode. Take care, everybody, and goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.